Yes, sir, baby. I just heard the greatest thing on the planet from Xander Krauss. Eagles by 20. Big Sills here, by the way. Appreciate you coming aboard. Thank you very much. Do me a favor. Please hit the like button. All supers go to the top. And the first 15 minutes, as you guys know, is some of the most important times during the show because it spreads the show. Please hit that like button. We can't thank you enough. Yeah, I just heard Xander go, Eagles by 20. Oh, and by the way, we are powered for the next 4 hours by our friends at BetUS. Got to do that too, man. Bet sales. How you doing? Let's get it going. LFG, baby. It is playoff week. I say it's the best week in pro football. The divisional rounds are the best week in football. Okay? Best week in football. I don't really think even the conference championship games bring you more drama than what you do when you get your divisional round games. These games, I think this weekend, are going to be superior than what you saw with the wild card weekend. Wild card weekend was kind of like the college playoffs. Very boring. A lot of blowout games. This is not going to be a blowout week. I don't think. Hit the like button. We appreciate you guys. Xander will join us at 3:30 for his usual segment. We will have the legendary Philly 500 join us at 4:30 and an executive assistant coach with the Los Angeles Chargers and former Chicago Bears head coach, winner of 2 Grey Cups and a friend of mine, Mark Trestman, will join us. We're going to talk with him, working with Justin Herbert, working with the Chargers, being a former head football coach, both in Canada and in the National Football League, was an assistant coach with me at the University of Miami and with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He will join us, and we'll get his thoughts like we got with Jay Gruden yesterday about the NFL playoffs. We will talk with him, and that'll be at 5:30 Eastern. So we look forward to you joining us here. Yeah, so I just heard Xander say, Eagles by 20. We're going to look forward more. You know what we should just start doing? We should just start previewing the NFC Championship game. Right? We should just start. Let's just forget about the Ram game this weekend. Has the city ever had a bigger loser than Embiid? Yes, Ben Simmons. How you doing? Okay, yes, Ben Simmons. You've had a bigger loser. And maybe when it comes to bigger losers, maybe Norman Brayman, and I love Norman, but as an owner, I didn't think he cut it with the Eagles. Anyway, so how about this here? Eagles by 20. The Rams don't give you anything. This is going to be a walk in the park game. Don't worry about the Eagles having any kind of problems on Sunday. Look, this game's toast. Hey, Eagle fans, don't worry about it. You're going to beat this team by 25 points. Shit. Don't worry about it. We're going to take a look at the Rams. Xander thinks it's a 20-point win. He's not the only one. 20-point win. This is the same team that struggled versus Jaguars and the Carolina Panthers, but they're going to win by 20. Okay. 20. All right. Oh, by the way, something just came to my attention. Xander, I want to see if we could get into this club. There's a brand new Philadelphia Book of the Month club started by A.J. Brown. All the wide receivers get to read the Book of the Month on the sidelines during the upcoming divisional game on Sunday. Nick could do it too because, quite frankly, he doesn't have a job. So he could join the Philadelphia Wide Receiver Book of the Month club. And you guys can also, your passing game's nowhere. So, I mean, you guys could just sit there, and on Sundays, you guys can all read the Book of the Month. I mean, Nick can be in it. Devontae can be in it. Very educational, got to say. You know, for the city of brotherly love, who is really one of more of your great places when it comes to education. This is a great idea by AJ, starting the Book of the Month Club. And you could do it while you're in the middle of the NFC divisional round playoff games. I like it. I mean, what the hell? It's a fabulous idea. Talking about giving back to the community. Way to go, AJ Owens. I love the idea of Philadelphia Book of the Month Club. And you meet every Sunday during the NFL playoffs. Shit. You can't get anything better than that. I freaking love it. It's a great idea. Book of the Month Club, man. How you doing? Hit the like button. We appreciate it. By the way, like I said, we are going to go over the 10 things to look forward to this weekend and this Sunday. Rams and Eagles. We will go to the Rams by the numbers. Nick Sirianni spoke to the media. We're going to rank the divisional round games. Also, we're going to start the show off with this. We asked this question a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to do it again. Hey, by the way, I was flipping around and I tuned on Birds 365, which I implore all of you to do. Zader does traditional great giveaways. It's great content. It's absolutely upgraded since Jody's not there any longer. And it's funner to watch. And John's even better now than he was before. And I think that's got a lot to do with Xander. He's actually brought a younger feel to the show. Before, seriously, no disrespect, I thought I was watching the Golden Guys. Instead of the Golden Girls, I thought I was watching the Golden Guys. So now it's kind of like it's young, it's cool. I like it. I like it. So Xander, you know, he's got to kind of tiptoe around John just a tad. He brought up my comment. He goes, he wanted to have a little pushback with John when it came to Sean McVay. Sean McVay's 38 years old. And he's won 4 division titles, 2 conference titles, and a Super Bowl. And John thinks that guy's overrated. There's no coach in the NFC with a better resume than Sean McVay. And did you see that ESP asshole? He thinks Sirianni's a better. Where is Nick Sirianni a better coach? What has he actually done that even remotely comes close to McVay? Name me one thing. Name me one thing that he's done better. And by the way, he's actually a play caller. And John holds it against him that Bill Belichick shut him down. Well, Bill Belichick's a Hall of Fame coach. This guy's got 8 playoff wins. He's 8-4 in the playoffs, and he's 38. Do you know that this guy has as many wins as Mike Tomlin? And his record's 8-4. Tomlin is 8-11 in postseason play. I'm not sure what the hell John's looking at. Well, he's overrated as a play caller. So you think taking Matthew Stafford out of Detroit and delivering the Super Bowl to his resume elevated the play of Jared Goff to be a Super Bowl participant quarterback is overrated? I do not. I think he had a lot to do with the turnaround of Baker Mayfield when Mayfield was in Los Angeles. I completely disagree. And you can hear even from Nick, this guy's a great coach, man. There is not one coach in the NFC currently coaching right now with a better resume. And guess what? His resume in the postseason is he's the second best coach in the playoffs. I mean, you could put him in a conversation with John McVay. Or excuse me, with John Harbaugh. I mean, I don't get where you're coming from with that. What is McVay's record? Who gives a fuck what his record is versus the Eagles? He's won 2 conference championships, and he's won a Super Bowl, and he's 8-4 in the playoffs and 4 division titles. Who gives a fuck what his record is versus the Eagles? Who Who cares? Honest to God, man. What is Nick Sirianni's record versus the Bucs? 1-3? Honest to God, what's Nick's record versus the Bucs? 1-3. So what does that mean? Nick can't beat the Bucs? Get this. So he can't beat the Bucs. So Nick Sirianni's record, with all those great numbers he has, he's 1-3 versus Tampa. Okay, so Tampa owns Nick Sirianni. How you doing? And a goose egg and rings. Yeah, okay. What's his record versus the Eagles? What's your record versus the Bucs? You're 1-3. Says we got players performing an exorcism on the sidelines because Hurts quarterback play is down. Right. Horrific, disturbing, and haunting. Lord save us. Hey, Nick just threw a super chat at us. All supers go to the top, please. I appreciate all of you guys. Xander, I missed the super. If we can get that, I'd appreciate it, man. I think Nick sent us one here. Guys, do me a favor and hit that super chat. Thank you, guys. I mean, give me a break. Got an exorcism going on over here on the sidelines. I love it. Ooh, no, hey, Pump. It's more of a book of the month club. Okay? Hey, Xander, when you can, man, I missed that super chat by Nick. There you go. McVay running Eagles offense would win 3 rings. Yeah, Nick, he would. Yeah, he would. He's a great coach. He's a great play caller. He struggles versus Vic Fangio. Funny. Who gives a shit? He's won Super Bowls. Conference titles and a Super Bowl. Vic hasn't won shit in his coaching career. That disturbs me all the time when you downplay another to make another guy look good. No matter what Vic Fangio has done versus McVay, McVay has the jewelry. Vic doesn't. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. And by the way, for the record, you haven't won shit yet. Oh, but you're 20-point favorites, according to some. Not 6-point favorites. You're going to win this bitch. You're going to win this bitch by 20. How you doing? How you doing? Okay, let's do this. Let's start it with Nick. I was going to go in a different direction here. But let's start it with Nick. I asked this question a couple weeks ago. Now that Nick Sirianni is in the divisional round, Nick is now, I believe, 3-3 in the postseason. He has a conference title win. He's 3-3. That's not horrible. Mike Tomlin's underwater right now. Hasn't won a playoff game in 8 years. He's the number one priority in the offseason to sign Sirianni to a contract extension. Is the number one priority to sign him to a contract extension. Here we go again. Mr. Pumper, down-nosing Sill again. Brown-nosing Sills again, excuse me. Do you want to give, and is the number one priority to give Nick Sirianni his contract extension? I think Pumper is Sill's neighbor. He brown-nosing me, man. Okay, I mean, no, wait a minute here. Dan, what you on here bitching about today? Serious question. Where do you think Jalen development would be if they kept Doug or Shane and he didn't leave? I'm not bitching about anything. I'm asking a question. Believe it or not, I didn't start it out with your guy. I started it out with Nick. Okay? And I'm bitching. I'm asking you, Anthony. Has Nick done right now, no matter what happens the rest of the playoffs? No matter what happens the rest of the playoffs, do you give Nick his contract extension? A serious question. Do you think Jalen's development would be a little bit better if Doug and Shane didn't leave? Yeah, because you have continuity. You'll never get that in Philly. Jalen Hurts' development will never be where you want it to be, Anthony. It'll be up and down. Jalen Hurts will have an up and down career because the coordinators will be up and down. It's just what Xander call it? A Philly thing. So you have to deal with that. One day you're going to get a good coordinator. Another day you're going to get a coordinator that doesn't fit, like Kellen. And then you're going to get a coordinator like Shane. Look at the three different styles of coordinators, Anthony, that you have gotten in the last 3 years. They've been completely different. What do you think the chances of continuity at the coordinator position offensively in Philadelphia is? It's poor. Jalen has to overcome that. Okay? And that's why his growth has been slower. McVay's great, but his teams are by default are more finesse. I agree. I don't like the finesse part of that. I do. Not as bad as Miami. I agree, but his teams just aren't nasty enough. We had a bad match. We are a bad matchup for them. Absolutely true. Hey, thank you, Joseph, for becoming a new member. We appreciate that. No, you're dead. You're dead on. You're dead on. I don't like finesse teams. Yeah, finesse versus power. That's correct. The Rams are a finesse team because you know why? You were a finesse team last year. You were not a power team. You were a finesse team. You were a power team trying to act like a finesse team a year ago, and it just didn't work. Wow, look at Anthony. No extension for Nick or Jalen until the Super Bowl win. Anthony, that's where you and I agree. Okay? That's where you and I agree. Jalen, I'm not concerned about. Nick, I think you can get another coach in there to do the same thing that Nick Sirianni's doing. I don't think Nick Sirianni is doing anything special as a head coach in Philly. I think he goes along and gets along. Now, is that an art? Hey, by the way, guys, Xander asked me to reach out to Frank Reich. And just to show you where we are in that, Frank passed on it. He did not want to come on right now. He's not ready to come on and start doing interviews. So he's going to pass. Frank and I are dear friends. We've been friends for over 40 years. And he's passed and will not be doing any interviews anywhere. So, yeah, that's where Frank Reich is. Maybe after the season, he said, when the season is done, he'll come on the program when everything is said and done and the 2024-25 season is concluded. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. Please hit the like button. Your art, Sileo, is the art of hating. What am I hating on now? What am I hating on? Hating on what? By pointing out that Jalen Hurts will never have consistency at the coordinator position? How many people believe that? He says that's hating. How many people believe that Jalen Hurts will have consistency? Anthony, who barely agrees with me. Anthony, do you believe Jalen Hurts will have continuity at the coordinator position in his entire career in Philly? Do you? Ask, do you believe Jalen Hurts will have continuity at the coordinator position in his entire career? And this guy here says that's hating. Dude, you hate on Hurts and Nick. No, I hate Hurts' style of play, and I don't like Nick's style of coaching. Get it right. I don't give a fuck who they are as people. I could care less. Honest to God, I don't care who they are. That means nothing to me. Zero. I'm not looking to be buddies with them. I don't care. Like Tom Brady treated Bill Belichick. Just play for him and perform. Other than that, I pick and choose my own friends. Whether my coach is one of them or not, I don't care. Okay? I surely don't care. Dan, were you teammates with Frank at Maryland? Yes, my freshman year. We were teammates. Boomer Esiason was there too as well. Yes, that was my teammate. And we used to go back and forth between New York, me and Boomer and him. And we sparked up a phenomenal relationship. And Frank's been on the program numerous times. So, yes, we're dear friends, actually. Okay? I'll give you one eat. Nah, I'm not going to go there. I saw Nick Wright say that Jalen Hurts is the worst quarterback that's left in the divisional round playoffs. He's right. He is. But that's irrelevant right now. You're in the divisional round. Hey, I'll use a Jalen line. It is what it is until it is. It is what it is until it is. Or some shit, whatever that stupid stuff is. Hurts been here long enough. After fade away, really, we're in his fifth year now. There ain't no more bell curve here with this shit. McVay is Sirianni and Hurts is bitch. 0-2 soon. 0-3. Who gives a fuck, man? Sean McVay's got a Hall of Fame resume. Nick has nothing on it remotely close to it. He's 3-3 in the playoffs. And, hey, by the way, Tampa owns you too. Tampa owns you. And Nick. Tampa. Okay, Tampa owns you. You're 1-3 versus the Bucks. How you doing? And the Bucks are sitting home. All right, hit the like button here. Things I want to see or things to keep an eye on. So do we agree? Are you giving your guy, hey, if you love him so much, you're going to give Sirianni his contract now. He's done enough, right? He's done enough, right? Let's see here. Would I give Nick Sirianni an extension? The problem with Hurts and Nick is neither do anything special. Nick is an elite play caller. Jalen's not an elite passer. Still no 3K yard season. No, you mean 4K. The talented roster carries both of them. Completely true. That's exactly right, Anthony. Dude, and Anthony's an Eagle fan, and you see it. You're correct, Anthony. Okay? You're correct. You see it correctly. Okay? Nick's not an elite coach. The roster's elite. He didn't build a culture. Doug had to go down to Jacksonville and try to build a culture. Dan Campbell's built a culture in Detroit. Think about the places that you've built culture. That's why you're paying those coaches. Andy Reid has built a culture in Kansas City. They were good, but they weren't like this. Along with Mahomes, Dan Campbell built a culture. They haven't won a Super Bowl or a championship in 70 years in Detroit. 70 years they haven't won one. Okay? I mean, I don't know where else to go with that. Nick Sirianni didn't build a culture in Philadelphia. The culture was set already by Andy. Joe Banner. Howie then took it to a new level. He did. The way that they used the contracts, and so did Jeffrey Lurie. It's funny, after Andy Reid left, the owner and the GM became more powerful. They were never going to let a coach like Andy Reid ever coach his team ever again. Doug tried to do it, was pushed out. That organization will never have a full control head coach like you see in the places like Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Detroit. You'll never see anything like that in Philly. Okay, by the way, Sills, do they win? They win. Are they a championship organization? No. Now, you close the shop, you get it done. All of that gets validated, like I've been saying, and I'm wrong. No question. No question. No, keep winning, and coordinators will be hired away. That's the NFL. Yes. As you know, I'm loyal to Jalen because he's an Eagle and winning, but at some point, he has to be held responsible for the passing. Anthony, I think he has to be held responsible for the passing. you're not gonna believe you and me, and I'm gonna defend Jalen here a little bit, okay? Yes, he has to be held accountable for the passing, no question about it. Okay, if they win a Super Bowl, I said this yesterday to Xander. What's the point of having AJ and Devontae on the team? Somebody brought up, Sills, aren't those guys decoys that you have to defend and have to put a game plan together? Yes. So the value was there. Like AJ had 1 catch for 10 yards last week. Do you think he had impact in the game? Absolutely. Absolutely, he had impact in the game. But that's going to wear out. That's going to wear out when they find out you're not going to him anymore. Just like Wink Martindale said last year, we knew Jalen wasn't going to run. And when Jalen didn't run, the threat of the quarterback dual threat was not there any longer. These coordinators picked that shit up quick. AJ had huge impact in that game last week, even with 1 catch. I don't know about you, but I'm going to have a guy on that guy no matter what. I don't give a shit what his stat numbers are and what his stat line is. I'm putting a guy on that guy. That guy could beat me at any moment in the game. The Eagles, that's one of the guys that can beat you at any moment. You can't let that guy beat him and Saquon. You can't let beat you. So his impact is felt even when the ball's not going to him. So everybody was like, oh, the passing game. Well, he still had impact. And he had impact in the run game. So there is value to that. That won't last, though, if the quarterback can't get the football to him or they don't want to go to him any longer. Okay? Right now, AJ could have a broken leg. And if he's on the field, like T.O., he's going to have impact. You've got to account for him. You've got to. And his Book of the Year club. I love Jalen, and I've been defending him since day one. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't concerned that our best-looking passing game this season came from our second and third team quarterbacks. Because the quarterback, remember at the beginning of the year when everybody pushed back and said that Kellen Moore was going to make and change the offensive way that he approached for Jalen Hurts? That never happened. One more thing, we were nailed on. We told you guys, Kellen Moore's not going to change. Kellen Moore's going to change off of what he does by running the ball more because Barkley was more efficient. Barkley became the more efficient player than Hurts. And that's what they've done. That's not an opinion. They went away from high turnover opportunities to low turnovers with higher production. That's what the Eagles are. Hey, let's do this. Right. Look at M. Reyes, 15-3. There's absolutely no question. That's right. The passing game, again, and the ideology of what those guys did, they did one thing that they would not have happen again like 23. They were not going to continue to put a round peg in a square hole. They were not going to mess with this. I said it yesterday as well. They don't want to win like this. The way they constructed the team, they don't want to win like this. This is not how they built the team. How we got lucky. They did not sign Saquon Barkley to be the feature player in the huddle. They did not. He's the lowest paid superstar in the huddle. Offensive. Do you understand that? Saquon Barkley's he is the lowest paid superstar in the huddle. And he's the featured player. AJ makes more. Devontae makes more. Goddard makes more. Hurts makes more. He's the lowest paid guy in the huddle. And he makes the most. You think that was by design? That they built this team that way? Barkley makes $8 million. Goddard makes $15 million. Devontae has an average of $25 million. AJ's $35 million. Hurts is $50. They didn't build this team to have Saquon Barkley be the feature player in this whole thing. That's not how this was constructed. How we got lucky here. And the coaches were smart. I understand. You have to give AJ at least 5 targets, even when he's doubled. Absolutely. Maybe a couple back shoulder passes, a few jump balls. Absolutely, man. I think AJ Brown is one of the absolute Anthony. I think AJ's one of the best wide receivers in jump footballs. I absolutely agree with that. I think Nick has changed. He's more conservative. That's okay, though, in playoff play. I'm going to make a reference to a golfer. Remember what, some of you don't know this because you won't maybe get the reference, but Jack Nicklaus used to say this on how he won his 18 majors. Hey, man, par is like birdie in the majors. Par is like birdie. Let me get my par and let me get on to the next hole. I'll take chances when it's calculated. When you have a team like the Eagles, why would they take risk? And if you're going to be so dominant in the roster, and you are, why would the Eagles need to risk anything? For what? Why in the world would I want Jalen Hurts to drop back right now on January 15th or the week of the divisional round? For what? To make Sileo happy so that the passing game looks better? Fuck that. You are who you are now. You're going to run the table on this style of play, or you're not. You are not changing your passing game. You know why? It's low risk. There is nothing wrong with having the percentages on your side, especially when, as M. Reyes says, you're 15-3. There is no 1991 Cornhuskers, the Philadelphia Cornhuskers. If that wins a Super Bowl, who cares? Okay. Twiz is right. Who cares? Okay? How do you stop it? He's right. Stop it. You think it's stupid? You think it's lame? You think it's vanilla? Stop it. Duck. Nobody's ducked. Everyone's getting hit in the face. I have no problem with that mentality either. You know what it creates? Let me show you what that kind of mentality creates in a way. Complete physicality. How would you like somebody to come up to you and just say this? Hey, Rams, come Sunday, I'm going to tell you exactly where I'm going to throw my punches. I'm going to throw haymakers at you. I'm going to beat the fuck out of you for 60 minutes of football. And there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. I'm going to show you where I'm going to run. I'm going to show you where I'm going to throw a couple times the slants. And you're not going to be able to do anything about it. You're going to feel you're in a fight with one hand tied behind your back. I don't know about you. If somebody spoke to me like that, I'd be like this, holy shit. And I would look at the tape and go, that's what they do. That's a mentality that I'm going to beat you up. The Eagles are bullies. You know the Broad Street Bullies? This is Broad Street Bullies too. They play bully ball. They don't play high, air it out, high explosion plays. Nick's full of shit. They don't have explosion plays. They don't have to. They have explosive players. And they beat you up. Okay? They're like Mike Tyson in his heyday right now. Now, you know the only problem that you have here? You hear Xander, 20-point win. That's how Buster Douglas beats Tyson's ass. Doing shit like that. All of a sudden, Mike runs into a guy who thinks he's going to kill, and he gets knocked out. Because he's not prepared mentally to go into a battle. Remember something. Don't be surprised if the Rams show up. Don't be surprised. They're a well-coached team by a really great play caller. And you've got a Hall of Fame level arm coming into Philly. I wouldn't go to sleep on that Rams team. Then again, you're not good enough to go to sleep on anybody. hence Jacksonville, hence Carolina, keeping those shitty teams in games. You're not that good because you know why? You don't have a passing game. You can't put teams away. You keep everybody in football games. I mean, like I said, look at Green Bay last week. You had 4 turnovers, and you kept that team all the way into the beginning of the third quarter. Well, because you're one-dimensional. It's okay. At the end of the day, you ran them over. We talked last year about identity. This is our identity. And it's a great one because it's a physical identity. Last year, it was a physical team trying to be a finesse team. Should have looked better? Absolutely. But I'll have faith if we need Jalen to step. I don't have faith in that. Twiz, he hasn't done it all year. He didn't do it in the first round of the playoffs. He's not going to do it. But you may not need to have him do it. As I've been telling you, Twiz, he's the only quarterback in the playoffs that's not expected to do anything. And if he does, then it's exceptional. If Jalen has a 260-yard passing game this weekend, they're going to blow the Rams out. If Jalen has his standard 135-yard passing and 50 rushing, it's going to be a game for a while. That's who you are. And by the end of the game, the Rams will be carted off the field just like the Packers were. This is who you have become. Don't be upset. You shouldn't be. M. Reyes, 15-3. Why are you upset? Okay? The quarterback is a 135-yard passing guy, and his wins 45 yards rushing, and that's why teams are in ball games. And he takes 3 sacks a game, and that's why teams hang around for a little bit. Even bad teams. You have created this. You're 15-3. You're riding and dying with it. Listen, we are going into, what is this now? What are we, week 19 of the NFL playoffs here? Week 20 of the NFL playoffs? Hey, man, you're not changing who you are. You're not all of a sudden going to start throwing the ball 39 times a game. You fucking save that shit. You're going to ride and die with this. And so far, nobody has stopped it. Hey, man, I'm with you. Hey, man, I'm not changing anything I'm doing. If somebody, hey, until you duck, I'm not adjusting anything. This is not on me. You got to stop it. You know, when people always used to accuse our football teams when I was in college at Miami, I'm running up the score. Hey, you don't like it, stop it. We're going to continue to play hard the entire 60 minutes of football. And if you don't like that, that's not a me thing. My gas pedal is to the floor. And if you don't like it, you stop it. I'm not pulling off on you. I'm going to choke your ass out. Keep the gas pedal down. I mean, let's say whatever you want here. But at the end of the day, it's up to these other teams to stop it. Okay. So I wrote these things down that I wanted, and I'll be looking for in the game. And these are some of the things that I think the Rams and the Eagles will be top of mind going into this game on Sunday. Okay? Hit the like button. All super chats go to the top. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you, guys. Again, don't forget, Xander will join us at 3:30. Give me a total, please, also on our likes, and we will have Philly 500 at 4:30 and former head coach of the Bears. I'm getting former head coaches on as they prepare. And by the way, Mark Trestman works in the Charger organization as a senior executive and a senior consultant, and he's a coach to Jim Harbaugh. So he works with the Chargers right now. He won a couple Grey Cups up in Canada as a head football coach, former Bears head coach, on how you prepare for a playoff game. He'll be with us at 5:30. That will be Interesting to hear because he's worked with a ton of quarterbacks before in the past, and that'll be at 5:30. Please hit that like button. Thank you very much, Tony, Kyle. I appreciate you giving us a total now. Let's get that total up there, man. I appreciate you guys. Thank you again. Here's some of the things that I'm going to be looking for on Sunday. How much has the Rams defense improved since week 12? 37 points, 314 yards rushing they surrendered to the Eagles. Do I believe that the Rams will be better this time around? I do. I think they'll be better, the same way the Commanders were better when they faced the Eagles the second time. Why is that? You're not going to do anything special to the Rams. You don't have a special offense. You're not going to all of a sudden start throwing the ball. You're going to run it. You're going to play high efficiency passing. And that's pretty much what you're going to do. So there's not very much you can do to surprise the Rams. On the other hand, the Rams can do more because their quarterback is more efficient and he's more high level. Matthew Stafford. Okay? And the coach is a wizard in play calling. Don't get it twisted. I do not believe that the Rams have enough to beat you. But the Rams will be better. Again, I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again, and I'll emphasize it. The only way the Rams win this football game is if Stafford has an overachieving game and the Eagles underachieve. That's the only way I see. Almost at every single level, except the quarterback, do you have an advantage? And play calling. Kellen Moore is not better than Sean McVay entering this game. He's not. Where in the world would anybody think that Kellen Moore is a better play caller than Sean McVay? Not in your life. That doesn't necessarily mean a ton when you don't have the Jimmies and Joes. Okay? The Eagles have the Jimmies and Joes. They just don't have the play callers at that side of the ball. Their play calling guys are okay on that side of the ball. The play calling on the defensive side is spectacular. The offensive line will destroy the Rams' D-line. I think they'll do a little bit different things here, but pretty much they are undersized. Okay? They are. Great practice for Philly. They face a good play caller like McVay, good quarterback like Stafford, who was similar to Goff. Tremendous take. It is really a good rehearsal for Detroit. It is. You know, by the way, I'm going to make a comment to you about that Detroit offense. That Detroit offense has a chance, if they win the Super Bowl, to be the best offense I've seen since the Greatest Show on Turf. Superstar wideouts, tight end. By the way, David Montgomery had a full pack practice yesterday, 12 touchdowns, nearly 800 yards rushing, along with Gibbs. He's going to play this weekend. He'll be activated. So when you play, if you do play the Detroit Lions, you're going to get both backs. One guy over 1,400, I think, and the other guy near 800 yards. So you're going to get both guys in the NFC Championship game. Montgomery had a full practice yesterday. He was thought to be lost for the season. He's not. Detroit's getting him back. I want to know how much has the Rams defense improved? We'll find that out Sunday. How are the Rams going to stop Barkley? How are they going to stop him? Got to be a number one priority. Stopping Barkley. You've got to make Hurts beat you. You've got to make Hurts beat you. Okay? That's your only chance, is to make Jalen Hurts beat you. Supers, go to the top. Hit the like button. The only chance that you win this game is making Hurts have to beat him. Great practice for Philly. Yeah, no, I got that. Okay, I've already read that. Let's go to Anthony here. It also helps the weather for Sunday. I'm hearing snow and in the 20s. West Course Indoor, absolutely true. Going 3,000 miles across the country to play Anthony at Lincoln Financial. Big day for the O-line, grounded out. That's why I say you got to stop the run, Anthony. Absolutely. 3 miles, 3,000 miles going across. And don't forget, Anthony, what else? You're working on a short work week. You played on Monday night. So now you got to work on a short work week, and now you don't get that extra day, and you got to travel. So me, if I'm the Rams, I might want to get into Philadelphia on Thursday night. Get those guys in there and get those guys a chance to rest up at least for a little bit before Sunday's game. I don't want to get in there on a Saturday like most teams do and go play a ball. That's not going to work. They were on a short work week. It's cold. Potential of snow. All plays in the favor of the Eagles, absolutely. Matthew Stafford has been brilliant. He has just absolutely been brilliant. The last 8 starts, 13 touchdowns, 1 pick. He's been brilliant. I mean, I thought he was sensational against the Vikings, too. And you got to remember something about what he did against the Vikings. Do you know how complex a defensive system Brian Flores runs? Constantly changing, post-snap, reads, all of that. You got to remember something about Brian Flores. As much as you like Vic Fangio, nowhere in the room the kind of coordinator Brian Flores is. Brian Flores got 3 Super Bowls. He got 2 as a coordinator. I mean, Brian Flores, very difficult to maneuver through his defenses. Stafford ate him up. Okay? Matthew Stafford ate him up and ate that defense up when he was out there on Sunday. Just absolutely incredible in what he did. I thought he was sensational. I thought he was actually exceptional in what he did. You got to remember something. Again, like I said, Brian Flores just absolutely sensational as the defensive coordinator there for the Minnesota Vikings. He was up in New England forever, too. And, he's got 4 Super Bowl rings. And everyone knows the guy who ran the defense was Bill, and everybody was kind of like contributed. But Brian Flores has 4 Super Bowl rings. Vic has none. Just to make the resumes, make sure you understand who he was. And Stafford ate his ass up on Sunday. So can he carry that in to this game? By the way, I think that was a great practice for him, going against a guy with multiple fronts, multiple coverages, post-snap, all of that. I think that's great work for Matthew Stafford as he gets prepared for Vic Fangio's defenses. Okay? Again, and by the way, every year's a new year. Every year's a new year. Remember that. So here's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He'll be better this time. I still want to underline it. I don't think the Rams have enough to beat them. I'm not making a case for them. I'm telling you what to keep an eye on. There's no case for them. Not making a case. I'm just telling you what to look for. And you can dissect it any way you want. If you think it's making a case, just saying. Last 8 starts, he's thrown 13 TDs. He's had 1 pick. He's played well. Dissected Brian Flores' defenses to a point where he was spectacular. That's all. And if you want to get butthurt over something, whatever. That's a terrible take. He wasn't even the brain behind that defense. Brian Flores just blitzed and bit him in the. That's a stupid fucking read on how you saw that game. That's dumb. Nobody would ever go with this take here, this Christopher guy. Thanks for the super, bud. Absolutely asinine response to my take. An asinine response to my take. Everyone knows if you're going to get to Stafford, you have to move him off his point. because he's a spot quarterback. He gets to a spot, and what did Brian do? He tried to get him off his spot, and like I fucking said, Flores ate him, or he got eaten up by Stafford. What a stupid take. Everyone on the planet knows you got to try to blitz Matthew Stafford. But you wouldn't know. Why would you? You sit around playing Madden. Talking about New England, Bill Belichick allowed his assistants to be the play caller during the games. Sometimes it was Patricia. Sometimes it was Flores. You know how we know this? Scott Pioli said it numerous times. Listen to him. That Bill was the architect of putting the structure together. And he would override many times if they wanted to do something different. He would override it. But most of the time, then it became his son as the play caller on defense. How stupid are you? Do you know what you're even talking about? How would you know what you're talking about on how that defense was run with Bill? His kid was the play caller at the end. After Flores and Patricia left, the son took over, Steve. I'm not going to debate this. I'm talking about the terrible take. That's a terrible take too. I just explained it. Jesus criminy. You have no idea what you're talking about. None. I sat on a boat with Jimmy Johnson and Bill Belichick, and he explained it to us down in Isle Morada how he does it. But you know, okay. Sure. Okay. You know, sitting in South Philly drinking a beer and eating at Geno's. Okay. All right. Let me know. Let me move on. Field goal kickers. Joshua Carty and Jake Elliott. Could they be factors in this game? We'll see. I'm not sure what to expect. Do you expect a lot of points? Or do you think this is low scoring? Do you? Cold weather. The Eagles are going to control the ball in a time pretty much. Is this going to be a high-scoring game? Do you think there's a lot of points on the board? The Eagles haven't put up a ton of points. 27 points is good, though. Shit, the Eagles scored 27 points. Man, I don't know how Los Angeles stays in that. You think it's low scoring? I don't know yet. I hate not giving a definitive answer. Do you see a 30-30 in there, 35-34 game, or do you see a 24-20 game? Something like that. Do I think that the game is going to be like that? For a while it will. For a while. I don't see when Sanders says 20 points, I don't think the Eagles are going to make and do a lot to put a ton of points up. I think they're going to beat them up. I could see the Eagles winning 24-7 and keeping them off the scoreboard and beating them up and running the ball. I could see 24-7 holding the Rams. I mean, that's kind of where I'm feeling. Like 24-7 Eagles. 27-10, something like that. I don't know how that offense is going to get it going. Now, I'm going to say this to you here. There's other things to keep an eye on. Okay? Hit the like button, please, guys. Appreciate it. Give me a total on our likes, too. Will Hurts be a factor in this game Sunday? Let's Again, I want to show you something. Jalen Hurts this year has averaged 160 yards passing and about 35 yards rushing this year. Okay? And in his playoff wins, he averages about 135 passing and 35 somewhere in there rushing. Do you think he's a factor on Sunday? To what kind of numbers are we looking at here? What do you think he's going to be around? Okay, where do you think he's going to be around? 145? Richard, I think if it's 145 and 35, I think you keep the Rams in the game for a bit. Okay, under 200-yard passing. Cody, I'm talking about a little balance here. I'm not talking. I mean, how do you see him as an impact? Okay. Okay. I mean, where do you see just kind of like on a box score line, 168 passing? Okay, that's not out of the realm. 185 passing. Hey, Katsu, 185 passing and 60 rushing, and you get another 150 to 165 yards from Saquon. That's going to be a tough game for the Rams. That's going to be a tough game for the Rams. 170 and 3 TDs. 188, 227. You guys are probably in there, man. 190 to 245. I don't believe the 245 at all. Okay, 275, I do not believe that at all. Why? Get this. You see this number? Why? When I can beat you up with my quarterback throwing for 140, 18 attempts, and I could kill you. Why would I do that? 28 attempts. Why would I do that, Twiz? Why would I do that? He has not been the bell cow in any game this year except for one, the Steeler game. Why in the world would you want him throwing the ball 28 times when you can beat them up by running the football down their throat? Again, see what Twiz wants to do? Throwing the football in bad weather, creating turnovers, keeps the Rams in the game. The Rams are hoping for 30 attempts. They're hoping he does that. You know why? Because every time he gets high in attempts, he takes sacks. Why would I do that? Well, for what reason would I come out of the things that I'm doing right now that have been successful? 14 to 21, 150, 50 yards rushing, and Barkley 165. The Rams can't beat you. They can't beat you. They can't hang with you. 275 and 28 attempts keeps the Rams in the game. You're coming out of your identity with what Twiz wants. You're coming out of your identity. Kyle, thank you very much. Is that 147 likes? That's pretty cool. Thank you, guys. Please hit that. Stay in your identity, Twiz. Stay in your identity. Okay? Hey, by the way, the only way from now on I'm going to start bitching about your passing game is if you lose. That's it. Here, look at this right here. 150. That's really all you need. 14 to 21. 9 attempts rushing, 10 attempts. The key is Barkley. If you see Jalen Hurts with 30 attempts, the Eagles are in a ball game. And they've allowed them to stay in the game. The more rushing attempts, the more passing attempts that are in this game on Sunday, the more the Rams have gotten better. And the Rams have slowed the Eagles down. Or they're doing something to stop the Eagles. If the Eagles have 20, dude, if you have 18 attempts passing, you're probably beating them by 20 points, like Xander said. Ever since week 1, when he threw for 38 attempts, then coming out of the bye, he's never thrown for over 30 attempts. And you went on a 10-game win streak. That's who you are. Okay? The injury to Dean, what effect will he have on the game? There is no question that Matthew Stafford is going to attack the middle of the zone. Now, what does Vic do to compensate? Okay? I don't think Vic does anything yet until he sees how Stafford is going to apply and what he's going to do. The Eagles have gone back to old school Smashmouth football this year, and most of the media can't handle it. How are they going to keep up with these teams? They don't have to playing the way they are. Hey, listen, I just told you that, Christopher. You're not going to go. I'm telling you, I'm with you on this. They've gone back to being the Smashmouth football team that they weren't a year ago. The media, no, Christopher. You built the team not to be this. You didn't build this. Howie did not build this team to look like this. It's not true. This is not what he envisioned. Okay? Barkley's playing out of his mind. The lowest paid skilled guy in the huddle is the star of the team. Okay? All right? So, I'm just saying. That's right. It works. This is what it is. The injury to Dean. I think it's a major injury. Hey, and this is this too. Do you draft a linebacker now? I'm not saying in the first round. I'm not saying in the second round. I'm really not maybe even saying in the third round. Do you draft a linebacker not knowing what is this injury is going to look like when he comes back out of it? He'll never be the same. Now, thank God it happened when he's younger, not older. Really a shame because he was progressing, getting better and better and better and better and better. It's a loss. Okay? I'm not suggesting you draft a guy top 3 rounds, but you're going to have to either that or free agency. And Howie doesn't like to do free agent linebackers. I think you have to draft a linebacker just to hedge your bets. I don't think Dean's career is over. No, I see a couple. I'm not saying that. I'll tell you what it does do now. Guys, Xander, everybody, I hate to do this. But that injury helped Zach Bond so much. It now becomes a massive priority to re-sign him. It's just the way the thing falls. You think Zach Bond was hoping? Absolutely not. You think anybody? Not even not. That's not. I'm not. But the injury to Dean helps Bond in his importance on re-signing. You just made him more valuable with the injury. So he now gets more top-end money because of that injury. Okay? I mean, I heard John saying they may have even started talking extension with Dean. That's out. You're not doing that. You're going to let him play it out, see where he is. And if he comes back midseason and he looks good, they'll probably do something. But until then, why would you? Okay? I would draft a linebacker. 4th round, 5th round, something like that. Just to hedge my bets. Because you never know with these things. He's 24 years old. No, Sills, you were right. I was wrong. Keep talking about the pass game. Got to hold his feet to the fire here. Don't want to become the Cowboys. Cowboys. Anthony, I'm going to tell you something here. Let me write Anthony's name down here. Okay? Sil's got fans second guessing it. No, I do not. I've repeated 100 times. I don't think the Rams have enough. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I'm not. Here. I'm going to make one comment to you about the Dallas Cowboys. Then we're going to move on here and continue some of the things I want to see out of this game. It doesn't matter who you hire as the head football coach of the Dallas Cowboys. You know why? Dak Prescott's not a Super Bowl quarterback. He's between 12 and 15, somewhere in there. And it won't matter who you hire. You could hire John Gruden. You could hire Ben Johnson. You can hire all these guys. It doesn't matter. Dak's not good enough. That's not good enough to get you to a conference championship game. One thing we've learned, Josh Allen has proven that he can kind of carry a football team by himself. Dak has never. This was his opportunity. They did the same thing in Dallas that they did in Buffalo by getting rid of all those players. Allen won 13 ball games in the AFC. So some fans are second guessing. It's not you, it's them. Okay, got it. Flexing. Eagles play their game. They can't beat them. They can't beat them. I'm burying my take on Friday already. They can't beat them. Nowhere on the planet am I suggesting it. I'm pointing things out to you here. That's it. The Dean injury is going to play a factor on special teams and also on your front team. Now you've got to rotate. Every time I see Jeremiah Trotter in there, man, I am going right at him on his knowledge of the game. I'm going right at him by having guys catching screens, tight ends, what have you. Okay? He's the fourth linebacker. Why wouldn't you? And don't get caught up in the name Trotter. It has nothing to do with this game on Sunday. Who cares what his name is? His name could be Butkus. But if he's Butkus Jr., I'm going right at him. Yeah, hey, Zach Bond made a lot of money off the Nakobe Dean injury. Okay? That's really a terrible thing to say, but true. Now he's more of a priority. And the agent knows it. You don't think the agent's going to go to Philly knowing full well they lost the other guy next to him and know that he's now more of a priority, which means more money? Eagles are going to have to make a tough decision. Are you really going to pay $15 million now per year for Zach Bond? Whew. Somebody will pay that. Look at Van Kinkel. Was in Miami last year. He goes up to Minnesota. Somebody's going to sign Zach Bond to a big deal. I didn't see Van Kinkel down in Miami versus Van Kinkel in Minnesota this year. Van Kinkel was great. He's the all-pro guy outside. He had a great year. Okay? Bond's going to get big money. He's going to make big money. So it's going to be a factor. Again, who will be better? Okay? Who will be better in this game on Sunday? Who does it favor on Sunday having played one another? I think it favors the Rams because I get to see what they do. And they're not very tricky, the Eagles. Run the ball, play defense, high percentage passes. Kind of what the Packers did. The Packers just didn't have the players. And I'm not saying, quite frankly, the Rams do. Once again, okay, I don't know why I have to keep reiterating this, but some of you get butthurt when you just bring up what you're looking for in the game. Okay. Cosmo, what happened to Embiid? Let me guess. Hey, let me guess. It's her time of the month. What do you need? Midol? What is it from Embiid? I don't know. Let me know. I want to close this segment up here by doing this. I do not believe that Rams have the roster to beat you. I do not. I think their coach and play caller is better than anything you have on offense. However, as John's pointed out, Vic has done a nice job versus McVay. McVay's a great coach. And I don't care what anyone says. His resume speaks to it. And he runs the ship in Los Angeles. He's the play caller. He picks his personnel. He gets total say over what quarterback is in the building. Remember something. They drafted Jared Goff, the number 1 overall player in the NFL draft, over Wentz. And that was his call. Oh, excuse me. That was Kevin Demoff and Les Snead's call. That was when Jeff Fisher was there. He got in there and went as far as he could with him and got rid of him. And brought in Stafford. Got rid of the first overall pick. Said, no, I want to move on. And he did. By the way, golf is thriving now with Ben Johnson. Does Saquon run for another 175? Or will it be them stacking the box this time? Again, he had 250. What do you have? 250 yards rushing. You're going to be forced to throw the ball to AJ. I do think, Lord's grace, that's exactly the mentality that the Rams have to have heading into this game. I think Chris Shula's got to have that mentality of stopping Saquon Barkley. And Hurts is going to have to make plays. I think. No, wait a minute. Let me take that back. Lord's grace. Let me give you my take on that. I don't think the Rams can do anything about it. You can stack the box all you want. You can put 14 guys up front. Are you going to be able to stop it? I don't believe it. They've got to make Hurts beat them. And I don't think you can do anything about it. The Rams are going to have to show me that they can stop him. I don't believe it. Do I think that all of a sudden they're going to have an epiphany and they're going to play large in this game against the Eagle O-line? What's been the one consistent group all year? The O-line? How in the world are you going to bet against them? Are you crazy? I'll bet against Hurts. I'm not betting against that O-line. No way. No way. The Rams are going to have to show me this one. Remember how I always tell you guys, hey, man, you got to prove it to me. Well, you're going to have to prove it to me if you're the Rams. Okay? You're going to have to prove it to me that you can hang with them. I don't believe you can. Okay? I just don't. They have been the best group, and that includes Detroit. Well, it's Detroit and them. There's that conversation again. If you want to get into the conversation, okay, where, hey, Sills, I'll take the Lions O-line, you can have the Eagles, or I'll take the Lions O-line, and you can have the Eagles. It's kind of that stuff. So, okay, sure. I think the one thing they do better in Detroit in the O-line, they pass protect better. And that's because the quarterback is easier to block for in Detroit than in Philly. And some of you are going to go, what do you mean by that? Another rip on Hurts? No, Jalen moves around more. Tougher to block for a guy where you don't know where he is behind you versus a guy who's going to stay on a spot and you know where he is in the pocket. Common sense. He's easier to block for. That's why when you saw the quarterback like Tanner McKee or you saw Kenny Pickett, those are easier guys to block for. You know where they are in the pocket. Okay? I mean, that's easier to pass protect. So they got an easier job because they know the quarterback's fundamentals and skill set. He's not going to take off running, Jared Goff. Hurts is going to take off running, harder to block for. How many times did you see this year Jalen running the sacks? A lot. He had 38 of them. Okay? Yeah, so underline-wise, make no mistake. Okay? Make no mistake. I don't believe little guys can beat big guys. And I'll make a point to you about that Jags and Carolina team. And I said this to Xander. Remember something about those teams. That's enormous people. Jacksonville's a big team. They may not have been a good team. Same with Carolina. Carolina has always been a big team. You know who's a big team too under Belichick? That Patriots team was always enormous in the O-line. Always big. That's where I got that line from. Belichick. Big guys beat little guys up all the time. It's going to be interesting to see what the Rams do, because it's going to come down to, have you adjusted and have you gotten better? Listen, I think the Rams have gotten better defensively, but the Rams haven't gotten bigger. That's impossible. So I don't give a shit how much better you're playing. If you're not big enough to hang with people, I don't care how good you're playing. You're going to get blocked. I mean, that's one of the biggest offensive lines I've ever seen, including the Cowboy line. You know, we got to remember something about Nate Newton when he played with the Cowboys. Nate's 6'2", and he was like 335, 40 pounds. It's a big dude. Stepnoski was 6'1", 270. Larry Allen was enormous. Eric Williams was enormous. Gogan was enormous. Not like this. 6'8", 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", 350 pounds, 335 pounds. By the way, the two tackles could be models, and they're both 6'7", 6'8". It's a big group of people, man. I mean, you guys like need a C4, not a chartered plane to carry these guys. It's a big unit. That's a big football team. I don't care what the Rams say they're doing. I don't care how good they looked against that shitty Vikings over the line, too. You got to prove to me you can hang with them guys. You may. I don't know. Crazier things happen. Okay? Crazier things happen. But I don't know. I'm going into that game. If I'm the coaching staff for the Rams, I got to move my guys around a lot. What does that mean? That means you're going to gamble. And there's going to be wide open holes. I got to tell you something, too, real quick, off topic here a little bit. I went back and watched Jaylen Carter after Jay Gruden made a comment. He does jump around a lot of blocks. They might need to try to take advantage of that. What does that mean that Jaylen Carter runs around a couple blocks? I'm going to tell you how that's not that horrible. He guesses. He guesses sometimes. Okay? And that's why you see some gash plays in the Eagle run defense, is because he'll guess. I think they've coached him up that way. And I think this comes from Clint Hurt. Okay? I had a conversation with Clint about this morning. The best thing that Warren Sapp and Jerome Brown used to do. Okay, check it out. You know how a pitcher, he's always over the strike zone, and he's always over the strike zone? Sometimes those pitchers give up a lot of home runs. Why? They're not going to be wild. They're not going to be out of the strike zone. They're going to be around the strike zone. You're going to be more hyper-focused, and you're not going to get a couple pitches in your ear, right? Same thing with a D lineman. A defensive tackle playing proper technique every freaking play. You know what that does for a guard? You know he's going to be there. You know he's going to try to take a flat step. You know he's going to try to get his head front side. You know what Jerome and Sapp used to do? they turn around, look at their linebacker, and go, I'm going to run around the block. And you know what that does to the guard? All of a sudden, the guard goes, holy shit, this guy's going to jump around some blocks here on me. It keeps you honest more, okay? It keeps you honest. Running around the block is not all that bad a thing. It's actually setting the guy up for you to make bigger plays later in the ball game. Got to play proper technique every freaking play. That guard's going to know that. And if that guard gets into a rhythm with you and he knows you're trying to get your head front side and you're not going to run back door on him, he's not going to be cognizant of that guy trying to make a play by running around the block. And what does that do? It keeps him more honest. So guys like Sapp and Jerome Brown and now Jaylen Carter, they're doing that. That's a technique. See, Jay, when he said that, I went back and watched, and I text Clint this morning. I go, are you teaching that? I go, I tell him every now and then, make sure the linebackers know what you're going to do. Communicate that. And they've been pretty good at it. So they're coaching him to do that. See, Jay thinks he's just running around blocks. He's not doing it every down. He'll do it 2-3 times a game just to keep that guard honest. It's a great technique. John Randall did it. Okay? John Randall would do that. It's really a brilliant technique. I am a proponent. As long as your linebacker, like what you don't want to have happen is a defensive tackle running around blocks and you're not communicating what you're doing. Jerome, how many times before Seth got scared to come on my program anymore, or because he wasn't being paid to do the postgame show any longer, what would he always tell you? He'd always tell you that Jerome would turn around and look at him and tell him what he was doing. So, I mean, so Jay's kind of watching it from 35,000 feet a little bit here. Okay? That's right. You don't want to do that all game. No, I'm not saying he doesn't do that all game. And Denny, he is going to be a great one. And he is. I just wanted to know, hey man, this guy running around block. You know who did that also? Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald did that shit a ton of times. He would always run around blocks. Okay? Always run around blocks. All right? I mean, here's the Rams. Here are the Rams. Xander's going to join us, and we're going to kind of go over some of these things. Here are the Rams. 16 ball games for Matthew Stafford this year. I think he had as many completions as Jalen had attempts, 340. Completion percentage was down. Why? Well, the receivers were out all year. 65-8. Hey, you want your quarterback hanging around 67 and north of that. Completion percentage. 37-62. Tells you a little bit more about the injury factors on the team. He's a traditional 4,200-yard guy, 4,300-yard guy every year. I think he's over 60,000 passing yards. So he's somewhere in that room. Okay, so they've dealt with a lot of injuries. Guys in and out of the lineup all year offensively. So getting the continuity for that Rams team has not been really good. 20 TDs, 8 picks. Took only 28 sacks, which is great. What does that mean? This guy had 517 attempts. Hurts had like 300 and some attempts. And he took 10 less sacks. Gets the ball out. He's on rhythm. You're not going to sack him a lot. Okay? Corinne Williams, 316 in carries. 1,300 yards, $29.99. Guy had 14 touchdowns this year, 4-1. Had 34 catches, so they use him out of the passing game. Be prepared on Sunday to see him attacking the linebackers with Corinne Williams. I would. And here's to the point about the lineup and why some of the passing numbers are down for Stafford, it's mainly because of injury here. Remember, they don't have a 2,000-yard rushing. And Stafford is known as a guy who drops back. He's a drop-back passer. Puka Nacua played in 11 games. Still had almost 1,000 yards receiving. 990, 80 catches. He's a really good player. Now, I don't know what the latest is on his ankle. He got it banged up in that football game against Minnesota on Sunday. So that's something to keep an eye on. What does that mean? Be prepared to see him in shorter routes if he does play. He's not going to want to stretch it out if he is ailing because of an ankle injury. They'll use him more in wheel routes, things like that, not having him run down the sidelines because he may not be able to do that. Kupp has been healthy, but he played in 12 ball games. 67 catches, 710. I'll tell you one thing about him that I really like. You remember that guy, Adam Thielen, that was with the Carolina Panthers? Adam Thielen is a cheap man's version of Cooper Kupp. You know what that means? He just gets open. He knows how to slink around in that zone, and he finds the open guy, yet running precise routes. He's a really good football player. And when healthy, he's a tough cover. Their defense, as good as these numbers are, Brian Young, linebacker, 7.5 sacks. So they bring pressure. Okay? They bring pressure from the backer position. I don't see the impact of Jordan Davis when he's in the game. But when I see Milton Williams and Jaylen Carter, I know a sack is coming. Jordan's been okay. And what I like about Jordan this year, the game he played against the Giants. Why do I like the Giants game? He looked like he was in shape. He wasn't a fat body. This Fiske kid from FSU, 44, he has 8.5 sacks. Okay? Verse, 66 tackles, 4.5. My kid from Miami, Kitchens, 4 picks. Playing a lot of young guys on that defense. A lot of young guys. But once again, you're going to have to prove to me, okay, that you can handle the Eagle O-line. I am a prove-it guy. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to all of a sudden do something that I do to Jalen Hurts all of a sudden. Don't I do this? We're going to get Xander on here in a second. Don't I do this all the time to you? Hurts is going to have to show me that he can play and make plays in the passing game because I haven't seen it. Well, you're going to have to prove to me the Rams can stop and play against that Eagles offensive line. And I don't see it. I mean, I just don't see it. That unit has been the most consistent unit the Eagles have. Receivers, D-line, all of that. All right. It's going to be a great football game for a bit, I think. Or, like Xander thinks, this thing's a blowout. Okay? You might be right. They have the roster. That team has the roster for a blowout. The Rams have to overachieve on Sunday for this thing to be a fourth quarter football game. Now, Stafford's better than Love. He's not going to make those bullshit throws. Without further ado, great stuff going on Birds 365. I can't wait for our pre- and post-game show on Sunday. Guys, they do a great job. Xander's got a ton of merch he gives away. Great content, too, on Birds 365. Without further ado, our dear friend, Big C, Xander Krauss joins us. How you doing, Z?
What's up, Big Sills? How you doing, brother?
All good, man. I mean, what do you really feel on Sunday this is a blowout?
I mean, I was a little joking at the start of the show when we were going. I know. Know what I love about you, though? I mean, we're going live. There's 8 seconds until we go live, right? And I rattle off. I always either try and rattle off something to give Sileo something to put in the head before
he gets
he
me
goes
going.
And I go, Birds by 20, and I drop off. And this guy's using it for a 30-minute segment at the start of the show. But nah, Sills, I really feel like this game is simple, man. I feel like big guys beat up little guys. You tell me that more than anybody else. And I don't think they got the horses to slow down this offensive line and this running back. So this is a trench game for me. This is not the game for Jalen Hurts to come out and say, is this what you wanted to see? I don't care about passing numbers. I'm telling you now, just run on this Rams team. I do not think they can stop it. And then you're also going to be able to control the clock that way and keep Stafford off the field. I do think Stafford's going to be good for some points in this game. He's going to throw the ball well. He's going to move the ball down the field. I would expect our defense to give up a couple, give up some points, maybe 20 points, somewhere in that range. But I do feel really good about where the team is going into this game. I don't really think, unless there's an anomaly type of a playoff game where the Eagles just don't look like they've looked for the last, 12 weeks when we're 10 or 11-1 in that time. Unless they don't look like that and the Rams somehow added 50 pounds per defensive lineman, I don't see it.
The only way they keep him in it is if there's a ton of attempts and passes. There's no reason for it. The formula that they have right now, if they go in there with 21 attempts, 14 to 21, 135, the kid goes for 50 yards rushing, and Barkley goes for 165 or north of that, you beat them maybe 24-7.
Right.
There's no reason. That's why I wanted to show people. People are like this, 275 yards, 20 or 28. That's not the formula. That has not been your formula all year. Why would you come out of that to give the Rams an opportunity at 3 and outs? You need Xander, the argument that I have about his passing game is moot. You don't give a shit about that right now.
Well, certainly for this game. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't care about that right
This game,
now.
definitely not. Like you talk, I mean, if we're analyzing, let's just zoom ahead for a week and say we win this weekend. I know we can't look past it yet, but when you're playing the Lions, I'm not going to sit here and say, okay, just run with Saquon all day. I think Jalen Hurts is going to have to make plays in that game. But for this game with the Rams team, I mean, they got a pretty good secondary, actually. They make plays in that secondary. You mentioned Cam Kitchens. He's a rookie. He's a really good-looking rookie, the way he plays the game of football. He doesn't play like a rookie at all. They got good players back there. So I think you just kill them where they can't match up with you. Run it down their throat until if they prove they can stop you, all right. Well, figure out have a contingency plan. But I do not believe that they're going to be able to do that. Now, it was interesting. Sean McVay kind of spoke this week, and John McMullen wrote a piece on SI.com about it. McVay kind of used that Eagles game in week 12 as a galvanizing point, if you will, for his team, where he kind of said, you're either going to let this define you and this is the team you're going to be, or you're going to, look within and where you can get better and become better from this. And I will say, the Rams started off this season super slow, and they have really come on strong. They're a much different football team. I want to say they're 10-3 in their last 13, and I think it's even better if you look at like their last 8. I want to say
take the last game out, they're 10-2.
Yeah, right. So they're a good team. They're playing well right now, and Matthew Stafford's obviously great. I'm more in your boat where I respect the hell out of Sean McVay. I think to be 38 years old and to have the accomplishments that you have. That's hard to do, man. That doesn't happen in the ranks of the NFL coaching world. So it's clearly impressive what he's done. And I don't take them lightly. I really don't. People say, oh, Xander's expecting a blow. He's taking the Rams lightly. I'm not. I actually respect the team. I just think this is one of those games where it's simple. It's simple. Run it down their throat, and they're not going to be able to stop you. And when they can't stop you, this game probably will look like the prototypical Eagle game has all year, where you manage the clock for most of the game. You get out to an early lead. The Rams are never able to fully, bring the big game within, and a couple late runs by Saquon Barkley gives you a comfortable cushion, and you win the game. It might be ugly. It might not look super pretty like some of the other games do, but I think you should be able to manage this Rams team pretty easily.
Let me ask you something here. And again, I appreciated you asking John about this, because when you were talking to him about McVay, I'm like, 38 years old. He's won 80 games. He has an 8-4 record in the postseason.
Right.
He's won 2 conference titles and a Super Bowl. I know he got beat by Belichick, and I know Vic's done a nice job on him, but okay. I mean, that resume speaks for itself, though. There's really nobody in football outside of him, and maybe John Harbaugh or somebody like that, or Tomlin. Tomlin doesn't even have – he has as many wins as Tomlin already, and he's not 40.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, Nick is 43. This guy has these Amazing
Yeah.
accomplishments
How
already.
old was he when he became the head coach? 33?
30.
30?
Like 30-something years old.
Holy shit. Is that what it was? Was it that? I guess he's been there for a while. I mean, he's you're right. He's been in 2 Super Bowls. He's had golf and Stafford. Holy
He's
shit.
38 years old. I mean,
How
he's
old?
been there 8
I think you're right. I
years.
think he was 30.
He got the head coaching job when he was 30 years old. I think 32.
30, yeah, 30 years old. 2 weeks shy of his 31st birthday, he got hired.
Yeah.
So he was 30 years old.
There were players on the team. There was a goof. There were players on the team older than him when he took that head coaching job over.
Yeah.
He's got 4 multiple double-digit win seasons. Now, look, Kevin Demoff and Les Snead have done a nice job putting that roster together, but that's a lot of him in that building and what he's done there with that and what he's done with those quarterbacks. I mean,
no, you're
Jared
right.
Goff looked like a bust when Jeff Fisher had him. All of a sudden, he turns him into an NFC championship quarterback.
No, you're
30
right.
years old.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. Look, you're right. And maybe the one thing that scares you a little bit, I don't know, for the people who maybe think the NFL is fixed a little bit, you got the Rams and the Lions potentially, Stafford and Goff coming in for an NFC title game. Although I think the other storyline's even better of Jaden versus Jalen. If that happened in the NFC title game, that would be wild too.
There's also one that you've missed. You know what it is? Who are the last coaches surviving from the 2021 cycle?
Sirianni
and Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell, duh.
Those 2 guys were the last 2 coaches remaining.
Who is
for the 21 cycle of coaches being hired?
I take it you like Dan Campbell more than Sirianni, right?
I believe him more.
Yeah, I do too.
I just he comes off. How about this? Let's be fair to Nick. I think there's more restrictions on Nick in the Eagle organization than there is on Dan. I think Dan's able to be more himself in front of the microphone, in front of his team. I think where Nick is more himself? Post game in the locker room when he's talking to his players and he's in there, he seems more comfortable when he's talking to his players in the locker room, when he's in there talking to those guys. But when he's in front of a mic, he looks like it's more orchestrated by Bob Lang.
Well, yeah, he's
giving him more what to say. I just think it looks more orchestrated.
Yeah, but I was thinking about that a little bit, and obviously, without being in the room, it would be more fun to have a coach like Campbell where you can hear what he's thinking and stuff, and it gives you it unscripted. But don't you? I mean, if you're a player in that locker room, in the Eagles locker room, I mean, don't you kind of like the way Sirianni is with the media? Like, he doesn't air anything out to the public. He doesn't air any dirty laundry. He acts like everything's all good inside the building. He doesn't throw anybody under the bus. Like, I'm not trying to put him on a pedestal or whatever, but I do think that's, as a leader, as somebody who is managing a group of professionals who have writers and beat reporters and people like us talking about everything that happens all day, every day. And you got guys like AJ, Jalen, Brandon Graham, all these different components. I kind of respect Nick's ability to almost be a politician at the mic, because look, we'd love for the reporters to get a lot, right? But if you were in his shoes, wouldn't you be like, fuck you reporters, fuck you Dan Sileo, fuck you Xander Krauss, I don't want you to know shit about my team. You can speculate all you want, you're never going to know what goes on behind these doors, because that's our sandbox.
I would be more that way,
right?
Yeah.
What's that?
I'd be more that. That's how I would.
I respect Nick's ability, I think, to do that. I think he does that pretty well. And he takes the blame away from a lot of shit. And I think the organization likes him because he's become a lightning rod where they can just kind of push blame on him. I mean, even the offensive struggles. I mean, the team can't pass the ball well, and we still have people commenting to me it's Nick's offense. Like, come on, guys. It's not. It's not at all. But look, that's kind of what he's provided to you. So I look, Nick is starting to grow on me. Now, I read a piece today, and maybe I'm a little slanted today, because Jeff McClain wrote a really good piece. It's old school journalism kind. It's a little.
Was it in quotes?
It's a little. It's a little crazy. No, it wasn't Jeff McLean. It was Tim McManus. Sorry, Tim McManus from ESPN. It was a little glazy of the Eagles, so you probably wouldn't like it too much. But he does give some interesting backstories where players really like this dude. Like Jordan Mailata. One of the stories that stuck out and got some headway was the Jordan Mailata story. So Jordan Mailata, and I didn't know this, by the way. Jordan Mailata's father, obviously he's an Aussie guy. He suffered a heart attack on the plane ride home from the 22 Super Bowl that the Eagles played in and lost. I did not know that. Now, Jordan tells a story to Tim about how amazing Nick was at helping Jordan through that, giving him a place to vent, to talk, said you can take time off, whatever you need to do, however I can help you. And I'm not saying that helps you win game on a football field, but I do think it helps you create camaraderie and a team and a culture where people will play for you. People, that's a big part of being a coach in the NFL is these are grown professionals, man. Motivating them like college, it doesn't work the same. These guys are motivated by paychecks and different things as grown men, professionals with families, with lives. And I think Nick does a pretty good job at it. I'll give him credit for it.
I'll make this point to you that a guy who has complete autonomy can make that call right there. When a guy's talking about his dad being ill, giving him time, I think that's just being a decent dude. I think the Eagles do a nice job at being caring for their players. I think that's Jeffrey Lurie too. I don't just think that's Nick. I think the organization cares for the players that they have in the locker room. So I think that's bled down from ownership because I do think the owner cares about his guys. I think they've got a lot vested in these guys. And by the way, for the record, I'm not saying it's not genuine, and I'm not saying Nick's not genuine, but I think Howie really loves his guys. Howie constantly is talking about his guys. And by the way, Nick constantly brings up Howie in every single – I have now counted 9 consecutive – and this is when I started keeping count – 9 consecutive press conferences that it goes without a doubt. Nick is always going to bring up Howie for bringing the guys in and the type of guys in that we want to have playing here in Philadelphia. Right. It is a priority for him to make sure. And by the way, it's political, like John wrote. It's really great Sirianni politics in how he does it. I'm not saying it's not genuine, but I pretty much think the organization, I think that they care about their players. Now, the point that I make that the players, and this is why I think they play for him, I think the players in the locker room know how hard it is that they make it on him to be him, that it is almost impossible to get out of the way, especially what happened in 23, how they parachuted in, made a fire on Desai, made a move in how they were talking about getting in the way of Brian Johnson. They know how hard it is for Nick to be a head coach in that Philly building, that they play for him. And I'm going to make a point to you on what players used to tell me about Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh used to scream at his assistant coaches so much, not the players. You son of a bitch. I told you to teach that kid. Those players would take that on themselves. Randy Cross has said it, that they were wanting to defend their coach so much because the organization was on and Bill was on their coach so much, like McKintrick, the old line coach, he would rip him a new one that the players felt entitled to want to play for him. And I think that is something in the locker room that those players see, that how hard it is. They're coaching him. Bob Lane's coaching him. You could see Bob Lane coaching those press conferences. That's a hard thing not to be yourself 24/7. Nick and Dan's talking about eating kneecaps and shit.
I know. And you can tell he's got nobody telling him that he can't say certain stuff. Nick's in a little different boat. And I don't, as much as it's goofy and as much as it's fun to rag on, can we really blame Nick for that? You know what I mean? Like he's at the mercy of the people.
No, he's at the mercy of the
hire. Yeah. I mean, and if that's how they want to be, like I said, I do think there's some good traits of it too, where potentially your guys feel insulated in terms of they know that their coach isn't going to say something. Now, if you're a bad defensive player and you're Bryce Hufflepuff, maybe Vic Fangio will throw you under the bus a little bit, but that's a different story. So, Nick's, look, like I said, Nick's growing on me. There's moments where I hate Nick. There's moments where I love Nick. And there's moments where I'm just like, what the fuck is this guy's deal? He's not my number one preferred head coaching candidate, but he's an Italian asshole, and he's our Italian asshole, and he's a winning
I
asshole.
thought I was your Italian asshole.
You're
Wait a
number
minute.
one. You're number one in everybody's book here
Yeah.
that's on their list of Italian a-holes. But maybe you, Big Dom, and then Nick. All right.
Hey, but here's the problem you have with what you're saying. Aren't these swings too high like this? Don't you want an even-keeled head coach? The highs aren't too high and the lows aren't too low. Nick goes like this. He teeters like this.
Yeah, but Campbell does too.
Campbell, but it's contrived in Philly.
Well,
because he's controlled.
That's a result of people who wear their emotion on their sleeves, and there's no doubt about what you're saying, that there's pros and there's cons to it. There's no doubt
absolutely.
about that. And
remember what I tell you, Xander? Remember what I tell you? My biggest asset that I have is my passion, and my biggest faults are my passion.
It's also the thing that's gotten you into trouble. Actually, you're the best example of this possible. You know what I'm talking about here. And
exactly.
So I do think there's good and there's bad there. I don't know though. Like, you look at a guy like Tomlin, okay? And I view Tomlin as kind of what you just talked about, the guy who's steady Eddie, right? I don't know. Is there a reason maybe that the guys who are a little bit, more willing to be open with some of that stuff right now are having more success in the modern NFL? Remember, you have a different era of players. You have social media. You have brand deals, analytics. You have A.J. Brown reading books on the sideline. You have, this is a different world now. It's a different league. It's a different play. By the way, the money is different. Quarterbacks weren't making – Carson Wentz feels like he got signed yesterday. He was making $30 million. It was top of the NFL. Now they're double that. Receivers used to make 5, 8, 7, 9, 10 million. Now they're making 30, 35 million. There's a lot of different variables here, I think, that, have created a different environment and a different culture in the NFL. And, you got to give Nick a little bit of credit for handling it well and for having success on the team, even with a great roster. Great rosters don't always mean that you're going to be a great team. As great as we do have a good roster, and how we did build a great roster, no doubt about it. But, that's never been a foolproof method in the past and ever in any sport in the history of sports, where you get together a bunch of great guys and you're automatically going to win a title. It doesn't really work like that. Maybe the only modern one I can think of is the Golden State Warriors who ran the table. But other than that, I mean, Nick's done a good job, I think.
We will have Philly 500 on at 4:30, and also former Bears head coach and now a assistant coach with the Los Angeles Chargers, Mark Trestman. He will be on with us at 5:30. No, I completely see where people look at and how Nick handles himself in there. I think he's so much more in a smaller sandbox than a lot of the coaches that you see. Andy has the largest, he's on a beach. He can do whatever he wants to do. And when you got that kind of freedom, man, you can say and do and have players get this. So when you have Travis Kelce coming up to him on the sideline and bumping him in a Super Bowl, dude, that would go crazy if that was A.J. Brown in Philadelphia. Well, Andy runs that whole thing. By the way, did you join the Philadelphia Book of the Month Club for the wide receivers? You get a chance to read the Book of the Month on and during the divisional round game this weekend, because the wide receivers are not going to be used this weekend. And Nick could join it too. You can join it too, Xander. It's the Philadelphia Book of the Month Club. You ready?
Okay, I'm not in the book club. I will not be entering the book club. I will not be ordering Inner Excellence. Okay, I will not be ordering it. But let me just go back to one point before we move on, all right? And something you just said, and I just gave you a lot of positives about Nick Sirianni, all right? Maybe too many. I gave you a lot, all right? But I will say, and you just brought up Andy Reid, the one fear I have about the Eagles setup right now is, for all the positives of what we just laid out with the way this staff is set up and the organization is set up, I believe it's a lot harder to have sustained success like Andy Reid is having when you have this many cooks in the kitchen. Because it's one thing to climb, right? And they haven't reached the pinnacle yet, all right? So they're all on this climb together. It's a whole nother beast when you reach the pinnacle, you win the Super Bowl, and then you're at a phase where, how do we maintain excellence? That's a lot harder. Many people will say that's even harder than getting in the climb.
It is.
So with Jeffrey Lurie involved, with Howie involved, with Nick having who knows what kind of say in everything, that would be the one thing where could this be a little bit harder to sustain? Whereas Andy, Andy's in charge. He's managing everything. Him and the GM know exactly who needs to do what. And look, they've sustained a great period of Chiefs football. They're on their way to a potential three-peat that some people are talking about Patrick Mahomes will be the greatest quarterback of all time. If they do, I'm not of that opinion. I'm sorry. I'm not ready to put him above Brady, even with a three-peat. But I would wonder about that element of it.
I'm going to use a line from your favorite coach, Nick Saban.
Okay.
It's wild when you become the mountain. Okay. When you're the mountain, okay, everybody wants to climb it when you're the mountain. And that's what is happening when you're in Kansas City. And when you maintain that, I think it's tougher to maintain being a championship football team than it is. I think what New England did during the salary cap era is freaking something you'll never see ever again. I just don't believe that Kansas City is going to maintain. I think they're going to have a couple more Super Bowls, but still, dude, I still don't think they're going to get to what they did in New England, having 20 years of dominance. And I've made this point to you before we move on again, like you said, every year Brady was in New England for 20 years. They went to the Super Bowl 10 times. You know what that means, right? Every other year they were in the Super Bowl.
Crazy, dude. That's crazy.
Okay?
It's just
every other year they were in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's wild. It's completely wild.
You're just
wait. Let me ask you though, because that's I always listen to I have a TV over in my office right there, but and I always keep sports shows on obviously all day, like I think most people who talk about sports for a living do.
Yeah, content.
Content. Just listening to it, seeing what other people are saying. And I was listening to Stephen A. Smith today, and those guys on that ESPN show, which isn't a great show. I do like Stephen A. Smith. I think he's got a weird ability to maintain at the top, which is a hard thing to do, obviously, in this industry. But they were talking about Mahomes with the Super Bowls. And if he three-peats, they were all ready to – everybody on the panel, and I forget the other people's names, sorry, but Stephen A. most notably says he's going to be the GOAT if he three-peats this year. Are you of that opinion that he would be the GOAT? And it would still – I mean, I would dismiss it and say no, but it would be easy to make an argument. Hey, man, this guy's played 8 years in the league. He's already got 4 or whatever it is, 7 years in the league. He would have 4 rings. He would have been to 5 Super Bowls. He'd be a 2 or a 3-time MVP. 3. I mean,
oh, be 4. Be 4-time MVP.
4-time MVP. I mean, it's a lot.
Okay. Do you really want me to answer this?
Yeah, of course I do.
Okay. Let me make sure I answer it. Let me write it down. Hang on. Let me write it down first. This will be a racially divided commentary because we're in a part of our country right now where race becomes part of a narrative on who's the greatest, who's not the greatest, why people root for certain people, why people root not for certain people, that race will become part of that narrative. So people don't look at resumes anymore or accomplishments. They divide it with racial commentary. And Stephen A. Smith is known for dividing people with racial commentary, as is Jason Whitlock, as is Shannon Sharp, as is anybody. They don't look at things for what they are any longer when it comes to resumes. I can't do an answer like this on normal radio for a reason. I would be fired because of what I just said, that this will be a dividing comment that on who is the GOAT of all GOATs. Dude, 6 beats 4. I don't care who you are.
7.
And I don't care what color you are. 7 beats 4. End of story.
Yeah, I would hope it doesn't get to that. I mean, you're not wrong. The society is certainly at that point, but
it is already.
Yeah, I know. I hate that shit, man. Come on, just can't we elevate above that as an entire society? Like, come on, man. But I get it. You're probably not wrong.
Wait a minute. We see
about
that
it.
in Philly.
Huh?
We see that in Philly.
Yeah. Look, I want to see great football, man. I'm obviously not dumb. I'm aware that color exists. I'm aware that I'm a white guy and I have different experiences than those who are black. And I understand of all of those things, but I just want to see great football, man. I have never cared. Maybe that's a product of the way I was raised. I was raised that way. I think some people come from different type of backgrounds, different type of households, but it has no impact on my thought process on who's a great football player and who's not.
And it shouldn't.
Yeah, it really should.
We divide dude, you look at the people on my Twitter page saying, because some of the things I said about him throwing for 2903, I'm a racist because I'm being critical of the way he throws the ball. It's got nothing to do with that.
I get it.
He's not utilizing the offensive skill set. So to answer your question, okay, that I don't like answering these anymore because I used to do this. If he wins another Super Bowl, it'll be racially divided. Instead of doing the facts, that 7 beats 4.
I hope not, but you're not wrong. I mean, I think there's an element. There's probably a group of folks who will be in that boat, and there's probably
Stephen A. Smith will be in that boat.
Yeah, oh, definitely. But I would put a group out there. I think of rational human beings, black, white, Asian. It doesn't matter what you are to me. Jewish, Christian, don't care. Either way, I think you can look at this thing and analyze it like a logical regular person. But you're right. Those days are more behind us, Big Sills. But anyway, I'm not ready to give Mahomes the GOAT if he three-peats. I will say I'll be supremely impressed. He's 29 years old. So
absolutely. By the way, it'll be arguably one of the greatest accomplishments of all time if he's able to put 3 Super Bowls in a row. Make no mistake about that. Yeah. It'll be one of the absolute greatest accomplishments you'll ever see.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, it's just where we are in our world. Hey, I got a couple questions for you here because I wrote some of the things that I want to see in this game on Sunday, and I want to throw these at you here, okay? By the way, I saw the Super Chats. We will make sure we read them all. Corinne Williams, fumbles this year. He had 6 of them. Okay, Eric, I appreciate that very much. How much do you think the Rams defense has improved this year? They gave up 37 points, and they gave up 314 yards rushing to the Eagles in Week 12. How much better do you think you're expecting to see them this Sunday?
There's no doubt they've been better. There's no doubt that they've been better. They're playing more physical. They're playing harder. This is where I give McVay credit, where I don't know what kind of expectations the Rams had coming into this year. They were kind of a team that was a little bit into nothing land last year. Got weird after Aaron Donald retired. You kind of thought maybe their window would be closed. They didn't have all the draft picks. They had that sort of thing going on. And
they had a 5-win season 2 years ago.
I know. Right? And you look at what he's done. So I think I give him a lot of credit as a coach. I think he's 39 years old and he's got these dudes playing for him, lights out. The one thing I like about the Rams roster is they have a great mix of young talent and veteran talent. I think they have a great mix of that. So they're a sneaky team. They're definitely a sneaky team, and defensively they've gotten good. I just don't know what they can like when you have an offensive line like the Eagles, okay, and you're going up against that offensive line, and you simply don't match up physically. What can you do as a defense other than stack in the box with eight people, or even what?
Gamble. You have to gamble.
You're gambling. And I don't know if that's going to work out. I really don't. Because Jalen does have the ability, one, to pull the ball and run himself. And if they commit too hard to stopping Saquon, that's always in the bag of tricks. And the other thing is, Jalen might have to hit a one-on-one with A.J. Brown. And he's shown he can do that. He's done that many times this year. He's done it many times in the past. There's the ability certainly lives within him. Obviously, they've scaled away from that a little bit in recent weeks. They haven't asked him to do it much, but I think you got to take that advantage if you got to take that opportunity if it comes, and I think it will come in this game. Look, if you're the Rams, all right, let's ask everybody this question in the chat. If you're the Rams, what would be your game plan defensively? Okay, you know that you have a great pass rushing defensive line that's quick, speedy, gets to the quarterback, but you also know you're going up against a team where you're not going to have that opportunity. You sacked Sam Darnold 9 times. Sam Darnold dropped back to throw 40-plus times in that game. Jalen Hurts is not going to drop back 40-plus times. You'll be lucky if Jalen Hurts drops back to throw 25 times. So
Correct.
what's your plan defensively? I don't even know how to answer it outside of basically hope that somehow, some way, the offensive line that's been so consistent and so good for the better part of a decade doesn't have a great game. Outside of that, I don't know what else to say to stop the team defensively. I really don't.
You just have to stop the run.
Stop the run.
Like you said, I just don't. I want to see it. I don't believe it.
I'm with Rashawn. Look at Rashawn. He says prayer.
Hey,
Seriously,
I don't believe it. You know how I tell everybody I want to see Hurts do it? I just don't believe it. I don't believe the Rams, as good as some of those young talented guys are, I just don't believe that you're going to go against one of the top units. Dude, get this. The Eagle O-line is not just one of the top units in the game this year. They're one of the top units of all time. We're not talking about just a fucking normal O-line 1 year. This is one of the best units the last decade. It's a different world here, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't believe it. How about this one on Stafford? I think Stafford's been brilliant last 8 games, 13 touchdowns, 1 pick. He's going to be better, Xander, than week 12. He's going to be better because you know why? They've got more versatility than what the Eagle offense. Remember what I said earlier about the Eagle offense? The Eagle offense is very vanilla, but here, okay, then stop it. So the question is, nobody has stopped it. They don't have to be. I smell
a little belief coming out of there.
Coming
out of the Sileo studios.
No, because I think that Stafford is one of the most skilled throwers in the game.
Oh, he is.
And that he's able to adjust and adapt because he's got that skill set. Now, do I think that's enough? No. But they're going to have to schematically do something different to the Eagles. And I'm going to tell you that the Kobe Dean injury is going to play a factor in that middle of that zone. Do you bring the safeties down more instead of playing them 15 to 20 back? Do you bring them up closer? Because remember what happened in that Week 12 game? Slay went out. Bam, went right after Isaiah Rodgers.
Right.
And he spots that shit quick. And so does the play caller. Dylan, remember what Vic said this week? McVay has the propensity to do this. Whatever he's doing, he'll change it up. If he sees something, he's like a shiny lure in a pond. He'll get off that bait, go over to something else, and he'll hit that. That's how good a play caller he is. So I think the injury to Kobe Dean is something to keep an eye on. Do you also think that?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. I mean, if you're a smart play caller and you have the, I really fear with the Lions because they have the perfect personnel to attack that weakness on the Eagles defense. The Rams are a great play caller and great coach, and a great quarterback, but I don't necessarily know if they have the right guy to really exploit that all game. Maybe Kyron Williams makes a play or two, but he's not really a big guy that catches out of the backfield a lot. So, by the way, real quick, just a comment on this, and because you just kind of laid out some of what Matthew Stafford does really well. How good was the breakdown that Jay Gruden gave yesterday about why you see certain quarterbacks excel early in careers versus not so much? And when you look at a dual threat and the way they're able to almost learn the game at a more rapid speed because they can rely on legs if they don't understand yet how to read coverages or they haven't picked up yet reading defenses and processing and pre-snap and post-snap. I thought that was amazing. And if you look at it, it's true. Look at all the quarterbacks who've had the best rookie seasons in recent memory. I mean, it's all people that can scramble and move and create plays, in the outside.
Why do you think it's taken a little bit longer for Lamar to develop a passing game? You know why? Because of what Jay said. Hey, if it's not there, I'm gonna run.
Right.
When you're a pocket passer, you have to sit back and learn the nuance of reading because you don't have that skill set. Like Tanner McKee is never going to be confused for Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson. So what is his number one thing he has to do? He has to study more. He has to see the game better from the pocket. These dual threat guys are able to carry teams earlier. And I think it works this way, Xander. I think they catch up with those guys later because of the lack of, don't we agree with Jalen? I think they've caught up more with Jalen's passing abilities now from the first time in 22 because you know why? He's still learning how to read defenses. Shit, man, this is the first year he's learned how to set protections. I mean, those other guys have been setting protections since they were in high school.
Yeah, I almost feel like that was a disservice to Jalen.
It is a disservice.
Maybe even forget Jalen. Maybe even the whole offense.
Yes.
Yeah, probably even the whole offense. So, also, can I make all right, I'm going to say something on this show, all right? And a lot of people might get really upset with me, all right? Really upset. Maybe, maybe not, but I want to get your opinion on it, all right? Because it's something I was thinking about. All right? Everybody, I love the player I'm about to talk about. Don't get too mad at me, all right? I'm just simply asking the question, okay? Is it possible that Jason Kelce was overrated as a Philadelphia Eagle?
No. No. He just got old on you. He just got old. No. And how about this?
It's the best O-line I've ever seen in my life.
Okay. Here's what I will say, though. Kelce's played with great players on each side of him his entire career. And I think he's had the best offensive line coach. I think Jason Kelce, his best years were 3 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe even. I think his savant of the game and reading and seeing where blitzes are coming from, I think he's really good. But I will make the point to you that there's no doubt Cam Jurgens has been an upgrade, a massive upgrade over him.
It's probably more the benefit of, look, everybody's ripping that off. I knew I was going to get ripped. Look, the only reason I said it is because if you have a Hall of Fame center and you lose them, like there's got to be some level of regression, and I really don't feel like that exists. But you're probably right that it was more that Jason got older. Look at all the people. Give me somebody good gas. You're smoking. A-Team is with me. He says Jurgens is better than Kelce. Holy shit. Mr. International crossing the line, Big Z. Hey, Mr. International, sometimes you got to say what's on your mind, brother.
Well, I'll ask you this. Jason Peters, do you think Malott is better than Peters? I don't.
I think Malott has a higher ceiling. I think Malott has a higher ceiling.
Okay. I mean,
you don't think Malott has a higher ceiling? I guess it's hard to say that about a guy.
Jason Peters is a 10-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah. How old is he? He's still in the league.
He's still in the league. They beg him to, hey, one thing when you're the GOAT and you're 41, 42 and they're begging you to play, I wish to God that happened to me, that they were begging me to play. Please come out and look at this thing here. Xander puffing and not passing. Dude.
Oh, shit. Y'all
do you think kickers will be a factor in this game, or do you think the Eagles are going to be so far ahead?
Kickers are going to be a factor in this game. Don't kid yourself. Our guy missed the point after last week. It's supposed to either rain or snow. It keeps going back and forth. Right now, it looks like it might be snow. I think I'd almost rather rain because I think that would really throw Stafford off his game a little bit more. Let me check the weather right now, what it says Sunday in Philly. Yeah, right now it's showing snow, okay? So snow with a low of 25.
Hey.
All right.
Hey, Xander, wait a minute. So you got the Rams going across the country 3,000 miles. They're coming off a short work week because they had to work on Monday, and you're going to play in the snow, and you're a dome team. Good luck. Hey, good luck. Hey, win that game.
I don't see it with the Rams. I don't see it with this Rams team, man. I'm way more confident about this game than I was about the Packers game. Way more.
Do you think it's a three-quarter game though? Beginning of the third, it's 7 points, and then they pull away late, or do you think they're blowing them out right away?
I don't think they're blowing them out because I don't think the Eagles play a style of football that's conducive to a first half blowout.
See, I'm seeing 24-7 kind of game, 24-10.
Yeah, I see that. I can see that. I think the Rams are good for a couple more points than that, though. I don't think they're going to hold them to 7. Stafford in the playoff. You hold Stafford. I'll say this. If you hold Stafford and McVay to 7 in the postseason, we're beating Detroit. If our defense holds Stafford and McVay to 7 points this weekend, we're beating Detroit. Mark my fucking words. If we hold this team to 7,
I'm writing that down.
Detroit.
All right.
We will beat Detroit. Now, if we give
last one before we read the supers here. Last one before we. Do you think Jaden Daniels in Washington? Hey, by the way, man, Jay Gruden yesterday gave them a puncher's shot at getting up to Detroit and winning that football game.
Yeah, he did.
You think Washington has a shot going up there to Detroit and winning that ball game?
I do. I think Detroit's the heavy favorite, and they should be. If you forced me to pick, or I was a betting man, I would take the Detroit Lions. But when you look at it and you zoom out a little bit and you understand what kind of player Jaden Daniels has been, when you see what kind of camaraderie that team is building, it obviously galvanizes a locker room to go from 3 wins to what they have done this year. I think they're playing right now. They're red hot. They're coming off a big win last week in a game that nobody thought them to win last weekend on the road. I think in a way they've become fearless and they have nothing to lose because there was no expectation for them to come this far. I think that's a sleeper game. And by the way, there's something I want to give you credit for because people say you're wrong on this, okay? One of the things that you predicted at the start of the year was that the Washington Commanders would win the NFC East. And you are wrong about them winning the NFC East, obviously, because the Eagles did. But you are 100% right in that take, in that nobody else saw this from the Commanders. You did. You said that team is going to turn around this football season, and you said it in a different way. You said it in a way that they're going to win the NFC East. The Eagles bounced back better than we thought they would. But you were spot on with the Commanders this year, saying they were going to be a good football team. They were going to be a playoff football team. And I think you deserve a little bit of credit for that because not many people saw that coming, Sills.
Coaching. They got coaching in the building, and they got smart people. And
and quarterback, Sills.
I believed in Jaden Daniels. You know what?
Yes, you did.
Can I tell you why I believed that the Commanders were going to be this good this year? Remember when we got the first time on, we got Herm Edwards. And Herm Edwards was talking about Jaden Daniels when he was at Arizona State. And he said, listen, he's Randall Cunningham just in the modern day right now. And you're going to really be shocked on how well he plays. And I took it from him because you know why? He's a guy I respect. And I said, they're going to have a great year this year. Now, I'll make this point to you. I think he is the rookie of the year. But, boy, I'll tell you, that guy in Las Vegas, you want to talk about offensive rookie of the year. You want to go Brock Bowers or you want to go Jaden Daniels, man. Probably going to go Daniels because he's the quarterback and they won 13 ball games.
Yeah,
but that's not that much. That kid in Las Vegas, man, is the best tight end in the game right now.
That kid's
I can't
crazy.
believe how good he is. He's got Kevin O'Connell or Aiden O'Connell throwing the ball to him. He had 100 catches out there. Let's do the Supers before Philly 500 comes on.
Yep, no doubt about it. Good comments, everybody, today. Appreciate all you guys, man.
Please hit the like button, guys.
Remember, everybody, all right, we're all human beings. We all bleed. We all shit. We all do the same stuff. All right, everybody. Here we go. Abe says, if we keep them to 7, are we today's era's gangrene? Well, we got to go.
Yes.
I don't know.
No. How about this, Abe? Abe, to me, for you guys to be better than Gabe. Abe, if you win the Super Bowl, you'll be better than gangrene.
Well, you know what? Gangrene never won a Super Bowl, obviously. Nope. But if this defense can hold that Lions team and make them look where this is one of the best. Then hold Mahomes. Right. This Lions team, though, they're historically one of the best offenses.
No, I think they're the greatest. They're as good as the greatest show on turf with Kurt Warner's guys. But here, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go through Stafford, Goff, and Mahomes. I don't care what you tell me about gangrene. You're the number 1 defense in the NFL, and you win the Super Bowl, and you went through that trifecta of quarterbacks. It's the greatest defense you've ever had in your organization.
Impressive. All right, let's keep rolling here. Brian Pumper. I'll tell you what, though. Media is pushing the Rams heavy and cooking the Eagles because of Hurts. The Eagles locker room will be motivated. 37-17 Rams.
Pump never ceases to amaze. They are pumped. Hey, by the way. He got
us in the first half. But then
Hey, Pump, you know what I can't understand? So I'm sitting there listening to ESPN and everybody on Monday night trying to tell me how great that the Rams are playing for everyone in Los Angeles for the wildfires. And yet how come every single home game, like when the Eagles home game, the Rams have to go to silent count because they don't have any fans in the building. And they're playing for the LA people? Give me a break, man. What a false
everybody.
narrative that thing
Quick
is.
plug: we got the night show tonight. This Week in Pro Football tonight with Pat Callahan. We'll have Sal Palantonio on. Who else do we have on that show tonight? I think we have a pretty good lineup again, per usual. We have Tim McManus, so he wrote the big ESPN story today about Nick Sirianni. That should be pretty good. And then Greg Beacham, but he's a Ram fan, everybody. So give him hell in the chat, all right? Give him hell in the chat. He's a Ram fan, so he'll be doing This Week in Pro Football.
Thank you,
talking
Paul.
to Sal about the Eagles, but he's a Ram fan, so give him hell in the chat. Here we go. Nosty Beats. Nothing screams Philadelphia like level-headed and emotionally stable, LOL. He's our guy 100%. Boy, if that ain't the fucking truth.
I'll tell you what, man, that is absolutely a great take here. By the way, I want to make sure everyone understands something here. Ray Didinger sent me a email and said that he will love to come on the program anytime I want. I'm going to read it to you here. Nice to hear from you. I currently tied up right now with Tommy and Me, which is running at the People's Light Theater, and he said we just finished our first week, and he goes like this: we're doing 7 performances. He says once that settles down, I will love to come on your program anytime. Just let me know, but let me get through this play. So he's doing that play right now, but Ray has committed to come on the program, so we're going to get Ray Didinger on real soon.
Yeah, Ray Didinger is awesome, man. He's epic. A really, really great football mind.
I thought everybody hates the Big Sil show. Man. What's going on here, man? How come all the big legendary guys in Philly want to come on?
This is the Eagles.
Holy cow.
This is written by Ray Didinger.
Yep, I know. Yeah. I absolutely know that.
So for any Eagle fan, this is a great gift right here. Actually, maybe I should order some of these and ask Ray to sign them for us and give them away, because these are really dope books. Like, for a guy who just got into media, and obviously I'm a younger fan, so I don't know all the history of the game, and I've been reading some of this like as much as I can. Really awesome.
Hey Tony, I don't know, I think you should probably ask your mom. Go ahead, man. If we have any more super chats there.
Yeah, we got a couple more.
Ask your mom.
All right, now we had Lucetta. Oh, we got Devontae here. Devontae, what's up, my guy? Stills and Big Z. I know you see Mahomes getting back to another bowl, but something tells me Lamar is going to beat him this year. Devontae, I got a better take. I told Sileo a couple weeks ago I didn't think Josh Allen had 4 games in him. I'm picking Bills out of the AFC.
Woo!
I like Josh Allen. Josh Allen's my MVP this year. I think Josh Allen. I understand Mahomes has all the accolades. I think right here, right now, Josh Allen's the best football player on the planet.
Could you imagine Bills Mafia and the Eagle fan base at the Super Bowl in fucking New Orleans with all that going on down there during Mardi Gras down there for the Bills Mafia? And you couldn't get a better group of fan bases for a Super Bowl than those two together. Oh my God, that would be epic.
That would be unbelievable.
It would be epic.
That would be so good. Bills and Eagles. Oh my God. That would be a nightmare PR campaign that the NFL would have to run to try and make sure everything goes good.
You better bring a lot of security for that one, bro.
Oh, I missed this. This was a good comment that we missed as I was showing my book off. Diva Brown's going to read the book during the Rams game. Philly 500 Nation checking in. There he is, Clark. 500 will be on soon. I love
you. Bet he will. You bet he will. Did we get them all, Xander?
Yeah, we got all the supers.
Oh, good, man. Hey, man, last couple segments. By the way, I want to give you some kudos here. Before I thought I was listening to like the Golden Men before when you had Jody on the program. Now you bring a lot of youth to it. I hear John dropping more F-bombs than I do now. I mean, I don't know what you've done. You have become a cancer to John in the F-bomb world. I mean, he is.
Well, I've unlocked it because, I've obviously worked with John a lot longer than I've been on the air with him. I've worked with John now for 5 years. John off when he's off script he is an F-bomb savant. Okay. Every time you talk to John, it's fucking this, fucking that, fuck that. He never stops. So I've kind of brought it out of him on the air, and he's not used to doing that. But no, I love working with John, and it's definitely a different feel to the show, since Jody left. But
younger.
Obviously, I love Jody and everything, but I love where the show's at, man. By the way, the numbers are dictating that the show is doing really well. This is our best season ever for Birds 365, obviously. And you maybe thought that you moved Jody off, and those numbers might go down a little bit. But to have the best numbers we've had, the most podcast downloads, I'm pumped with where it is. And that's all thanks to the people, man. Like you always say to them, I could talk into a void all I want. The people show up, they like the show, they comment on the show, they drop super chats, they become members, they engage in our giveaways, they do everything. So the people are really fueling it, but it is a fun show, and it's definitely got a different feel, but a good feel. One that I feel is good and is in the right direction and has some staying power. Big Sills.
One makes me want to take a shot of whiskey, and the other one makes me want to take a shot of Geritol. Just saying. I love you, brother.
What the fuck does that mean?
Old people take Geritol, dude.
Yeah, so John makes you want to take Geritol?
Your show makes me want to take a great shot of whiskey.
Oh,
man.
Okay, I got you. I thought you were talking about me and John.
The other shows like the Geritol show. You should have a sponsor. Get Big Joe on the Geritol. No, he's gone anyway. Xander, great stuff, bro. We'll see you tomorrow, man.
All right, brother. I appreciate you, man. Listen. This is our game.
By 20, he said.
You know it. I know it. Everybody in the chat knows it. Don't get scared now. Don't flinch now. This is the Philadelphia Eagles game. We're heading back to the NFC title game. If we just handle some business this weekend, throw out the trash, move them little defensive tackles out of the way, get your 180 yards for Saquon Barkley. I'll see you guys in the title game. Thanks, everybody. Love you all.
You got it, Xander. I appreciate it, my good friend. Don't forget Philly 500's right around the corner. Don't forget our friends also at BetUS. We have teamed up with our friends at BetUS for the YouTube 150. Great time of the year right now. This is our business partner during this time. And if you want to make some bets, BetUS is your place to go. Sign-up bonuses up to $2K. Second and third are 125%. If you're into crypto, up to 200% to that 2K. It's the home of Michael Vick. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Fastest payouts in the business, 24/7. Personalized service, 365 days of the year. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. And do me a favor, tell them Big Sil sent you.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
We noticed that there was mold creeping into our basement about a year and a half ago, and wanted to make sure that we were getting rid of the problem permanently. We actually reached out to several different contractors to get it resolved, and actually 2 of them recommended DryTech to us as a long-term solution. Other than the noise factor, we wouldn't even know that there was work being done on the basement level. It's really been a clean process for us.
Score and save this football season on your car insurance. Before the next game, save up to 40% on your auto insurance policy. That's right, 40% savings. Call an Audible this season and contact the Del Val Insurance Group. They're an advocate for you, not an insurance company. That means they'll get you the right coverage and save you up to 40%. Call managing partners Fran or Jim of Del Val Insurance, 215-354-0122, or score and save at dvigi.com. dvigi.com.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Do me a favor. Please hit the like button. Mark Trestman, former head coach of the Chicago Bears, now a assistant coach with Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers, will join us. That'll be at 5:30 Eastern time. We'll talk with him as we had Jay Gruden on with us yesterday. And we'll talk about some of the playoff games that we're going to see this weekend and some of the quarterback play that's going to go on this weekend. We'll talk to him. That'll be, like I said, at 5:30. Before I get Philly 500 on, I want to ask somebody a question here, especially the NFL and the commissioner of the National Football League. Philly 500's in the green room. We're going to get him up here in a second, but help me out on this. So on Saturday, Tom Brady's calling the Washington and the Lions game, right? He is now making all senior decisions for the Las Vegas Raiders. So he's going to be able to go on the air on Saturday and actively recruit Ben Johnson to be the head football coach of the Raiders. And that's not a conflict of interest for the NFL. They fired Tom Telesco for a reason. Brady's making all major football decisions. So when he's there calling the game in Detroit on Saturday, Tom's going to be actively recruiting Ben Johnson to become the next head coach of the Raiders. I don't know about you, but that's tampering, isn't it? How does the NFL allow that and think that's cool that a broadcaster who runs the Raiders? Can you imagine? Why not just put Howie Roseman in the booth as an analyst, and every potential free agent that comes up, he gets to go, that kid is one whale of a player. That kid's one whale of a player. And then when the game's over, Howie says, gives him a contract. How is the NFL okay with that? You're supposed to not be partial. If Ben Johnson turns out to be the head coach, you know that he recruited him out of that playoff game. He's calling the game Saturday. Okay. I'll tell you what, this game. Hey, by the way, Xander said Eagles by 20. We're kidding. Okay? You don't have to worry about it. Eagles by 20. What do you think? I got to say this. I sent a text message to Mark Holmes. He didn't want to come on. He didn't want to come on because you know why? I think Philly beat him and beat him up too bad. I go, Mark, would you like to come on? Because there's some news, Deion Sanders and all that, Cowboys. So let's bring in Philly 500 now. I appreciate it.
They used to call me the babyface assassin. What's happening?
Hey, man.
What's happening?
I think you beat your boy Mark Holmes up, man. I sent a invitation to him for him to appear on the program, but he never responded back. And I think, I think he's taking his beating well from you. I saw some sort of Eagle gear on him too. Maybe he had lost a bet to you or something. I don't know. I mean,
he's losing it.
He's losing it.
Listen, this guy texted me like 11 o'clock at night. Would you like some soup? I'm like, no. And he's like, I have Jason Kelsey soup. I'm like, I don't want it. And for 3 days, this guy had a fit until I gave him my address to send me soup. I don't know what's wrong with him. He has lost his mind. And to not come on with all the Cowboys news that's happening, how could you not come on? I mean, that's a great conversation to have about the coaching there, you know? And I wanted to tell Mark, I wanted to say to him, Mark, that's how you beat Green Bay in the playoffs, you know, just so you know.
Yeah, he did. Hey, I don't think I forgot that, man. He didn't want any of that you guys ended up taking that team apart at the very end. Hey, I don't know, man, about you, but I used to watch that old TV series MASH. I thought I saw a rerun being played on Sunday with all the bodies being carted out there. They beat them up, didn't they?
They did. They did. You know, that's what I like about this team, man. Like, I hear all year long, well, you're playing this team versus, they're playing this team this week. They're good against the run. It doesn't seem like it matters. They're just big and they wear you out in the course of a game. And I just think that they wear you down. And I think they wore Green Bay down in the first game. And I think they wore them down in the second game.
Billy, I want you to make sure that you get your subscription to the Philadelphia Book of the Month Club that, you're going to be able to, join now, because I think you're probably going to be able to use it this weekend on Sunday too. Mm-hmm. And here's a cool thing. You guys all get together in game during the divisional round. You, Devontae, AJ, probably Nick too, because he don't have a job. So you guys can all sit around on Sunday with the Book of the Month Club. How do you feel about joining the Book of the Month Club?
Hey, the most important thing you said is when you're playing in the divisional round. So, right? So as long as we're playing, I'm all good with the book. Let's read, baby. I'll start chapter 1. I don't care.
You don't have a problem with it?
No, because he's been doing it all year. Apparently, he's been doing this for a while. It wasn't because it wasn't something he just did because he was frustrated. He has apparently done this before. There's pictures of him doing it in previous games in which he's having a big game. So what do I care? If that's refocusing him for the next drive, I have no problem with it.
Okay. Hey, listen, all I know is that guy, I don't care. And I said this morning here on the show. I went like this, Philly. I said, if you don't, people look at it and go, he had 1 catch for 10 yards. If you don't think that a defensive coordinator, whether he has 1 catch or 10 catches, is not accounting for that guy, especially in the run game, that guy, whether he's a decoy or they're actually throwing passes to him, you have to account for him. So no matter what his impact is, every time he steps on the field, you have to know where A.J. Brown is. You agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. But I have a question for you, just out of curiosity. Did you see the video clip of Vrabel talking about A.J. Brown and if New England would trade for him? And he was like, well, we'll see, Did you happen to see that online?
No, I didn't.
There's a clip of it, and he's talking about A.J. Brown trading for A.J. Brown. Like, isn't that tampering?
Yes.
Like, I want you to see that clip. I'm curious of what you think, because I think they're totally tampering about A.J. Brown. And it's like, no, A.J. Brown, they're not trading A.J. Brown to the Patriots. I'm sorry.
Let me bring a point up that me and you can make the New England Patriots lose a draft pick. We're going to do this after the program. You remember when Tom Brady was talking? Remember when the Miami Dolphins were talking about having Tom Brady become the quarterback down in Miami? Well, what happened? They lost the draft pick, a first-round draft pick, because Brady was still under contract with the Buccaneers. The Patriots could be in big trouble if the brand new head football coach is talking about making a trade for.
Check that clip
Brown.
out.
I will.
I thought it was borderline tampering.
It is.
To be quite honest with you. Yeah,
it absolutely is. Okay, I want to throw some of these questions at you here. And this is for Sunday, and I wrote these down. There's a couple things that I want to see for this week. Do you believe on Sunday the Rams are going to be better than what they were in Week 12 when they gave up 37 points and 314 yards rushing?
No.
You think they're not going to make any adjustments whatsoever?
Oh,
why do you not?
I think they'll make adjustments. I think they'll come out early and try to do some things, that they saw on tape. But I don't think it's going to matter. I think they're getting steamrolled. All right. I think this weather, it's going to be cold. They're coming across the country. I think that this
on
is
a short work week too.
Yeah, on a short week, right? Because they played Monday night. Why they have Monday night playoff games to me is so stupid. But I don't think it matters. I think they're in big trouble because, listen, the passing game, if you look at everybody, look at all the games last week, passing numbers come down in the playoffs. They just do, especially when you're outside and it's cold. That passing game, that weather's going to affect the Rams passing game more than it's going to affect the Eagles passing game. And the biggest problem the Rams have is against the run with Barkley. You think those guys are going to want to hit Barkley in that cold weather? With an offensive line that we just talked about wears you down? I think the Rams are in big trouble.
How about Stafford here? In the last 8 games, he's got 13 touchdowns, 1 pick. He's clearly one of the best passers in the game still. Mm-hmm. He's got a big-time arm. Yeah. They've got a great coach and play calling and Sean McVay. Do you give them a puncher's shot with him?
Yeah, of course.
Or do you think that it's going to still, no matter what it is, because the Eagle defense has been playing so good? But let me add one last caveat. The loss of Nakobe Dean, do you think that also lessens the defense going against Matthew Stafford?
I think they have a puncher's shot because I think that when you get to the divisional round of playoffs, you gotta give the team in there that kind of respect. Yeah, they have a shot. If the Eagles turn the ball over 2-3 times, I'll say 3 times or more, I think they got a chance. Stafford is a good passer. Pakua Nakua, I think he's, both those receivers are good, but he gave us problems kind of last game. I don't know what Higbee, the tight end, I don't know what his story is injury-wise. So they have a chance, but to me, the Eagles really have to self-destruct, and maybe the weather is what they need. But I think that all fits the Eagles better. You know
what Philly? I think the Rams have to overachieve, and the Eagles have to underachieve.
Yeah,
for this thing to be a fourth quarter football game, because I just think the rosters and I said it earlier too. As much as I've been on Jalen Hurts on not being consistent in the passing game this year, one thing that's been consistent has been the O-line. And I keep saying this about Jalen. You got to show me, dude, that if you have to be called upon, that you're going to win a football game. And I make that comment. You don't have to show me with that O-line. The Rams have to show me. I'm not giving the Rams the benefit of the doubt is what I'm saying here. Mm-hmm. The Rams, I just don't believe their size matches up.
I agree. They're undersized. I really think the weather is a big factor.
It is.
I do. If the Rams beat the Eagles, it's not going to be because Stafford throws 350 yards. It's going to be because they were able to run the ball effectively and the Eagles had too many turnovers. To me, that's the only shot they got.
Will Jake Elliott be a factor in this game, or do you think special teams is really not going to be a factor in this? Because, again, if they take care of business, they take care of business, it shouldn't come down to this. But we've seen this guy. He's been helter-skelter all year long against Jake Elliott. Are you concerned about it?
I'm a little worried about Jake Elliott right now. I think there was the Eagles. It was the second quarter of that game. They were in field goal. I think it was like a 4th and 4, something like that. But they were technically in field goal range. It was a long 50-yard or something like that, over 50 yards. But for Elliott and kicks that he's made before, he hits that. They did not send him out in the field. They were going to go for it on 4th down. Then Goddard went off sides or it was illegal motion, and then we ended up punting. But when they didn't let him kick the field goal there, that told me that they are worried about it too. That's what I took out of it.
I want to bring this to your attention, and you tell me if you think Hurts will be a factor. Because to me, if you're Chris Shula, you've got to make Jalen Hurts beat you. You cannot let Saquon Barkley beat you up like you did, because the Eagles are not going to beat you. They're going to beat you up if Barkley's going nuts. And I want to show you this. So in Jalen Hurts' wins, 131 yards passing, 2 touchdowns against the Packers. His other win, 49ers, 15-25, 121, no touchdowns. The Giants game, 16-24, 154. It averages right around 138 yards a game. So I say this to you. If Hurts is around 140, 50 yards passing, and Barkley's 175, isn't that the remedy that they've won 15 ball games with? Because to me, you don't really have to have. I say this, if you see him with 36 attempts, the Rams are in it for some reason. Why do anything high percentage-wise, Philly, when that's been the formula that has dominated football teams, right?
Yeah, right. And the way I look, I agree with you. I agree. If Hurts is right around there, I think that's exactly where you want. I think Hurts throws between 20 to 30 times a game. I think that's the right formula. And yeah, I would expect the Rams to come out and try to do everything they can to take advantage of or at least shut down the run. And the Eagles, they've got to do a better job of having plays to take advantage of that. I mean, they want to shut down Barkley. So why not do play action? Why not roll? That whole half, that offense struggled, Sills. But when Green Bay scored and then the Eagles had to go down and respond, it was a third down play where they played action to Barkley going right, and they rolled Hurts out left, and they hit Devontae Smith on a huge gain. Those kind of plays are there all day, but they don't do it, and I don't understand it. So they have to. The Eagles should know what the Rams are going to try to do with Barkley, and they should be able to take advantage of that. I think so.
How about this? I mean, you and me can look ahead. Obviously, the team got to take care of business in the 60 that's in front of you. But don't you think this is a great dress rehearsal for Detroit? Detroit likes to spread you around. They've got quality receivers. They've got a good back. Detroit's getting David Montgomery back. He had a full practice yesterday, so it looks like he's going against Washington on Sunday for the Lions. And if you think about it, too, they're not that giant over there on that side of the ball defensively, the Lions. They're active. They're fast. They've got a decent safety. They're really good back there. They're not awesome. But isn't this kind of like a precursor and a really good setup having a guy like Stafford? Because Goff spreads the ball around a lot like Matthew Stafford does.
Yeah.
So this is something here that could probably get you prepared for the following week if you're so fortunate enough to win, which we both think they are, to set you up for the NFC title game.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think so. I mean, you got to give Stafford respect. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. So I do think it helps. Now, it's a little different animal when you have to go in that dome, and Detroit's going to play very fast up there. The weather slows you down a lot, so there's that factor. But no, I do think it's a great dress rehearsal. And, the one thing we haven't talked about yet, but that defense is why this team, to me, has a real advantage, I think, over every other team left in the playoffs.
So you don't think the loss of Dean is going to be
It
that
does.
much?
It hurts. You can't say it doesn't hurt, right? It does hurt. I think Dean turned out to be pretty good, Sills. He's a tone setter, and I think that you lose something there, but I still think they've got enough pieces to hopefully, mask that deficiency of losing him. Hopefully they give Trotter a chance. I would like to see Trotter get a shot over Burks. And I think this injury is going to be the biggest reason why the Eagles re-signed Zach Bond.
Absolutely. I was just going there. I mean, I hate to do this, man, but I mean, we brought it up earlier in the program too. I think now you're talking higher end money now too. You're talking $15 million. We're not talking about the 11, 12 that we were kind of hitting on, because now, and also I would also do this. I'm not talking about wasting a premium pick on the first 3 rounds. But I'm talking
Right.
about, they're talking about him missing the first half of next year.
I know.
I may draft
Yeah.
a linebacker in the 4th or 5th round
Yeah.
just to hedge my bets for next
I
year,
agree.
just to make sure I'm okay. But I mean, do you really believe the Eagles are going to pony up and put $15 million on a 3-year contract for him now? Because now, again, I agree 100%. I think this moves the needle a little bit here now to making them have a priority where they have to give him top end money.
I think they're gonna. Yeah, I do. I think it's going to be.
That means
I
Sweat's
think it's
gone.
what. Yeah, but I kind of thought Sweat was gone already.
Okay.
So I mean that
How about
that was
Milton?
already. Yeah, I think Milton's gone. I think he's gone. I think Baum stays, and I think Becton is up in the air. I hope Becton stays, but we'll have to see. You know, I trust what they do on the offensive line. That Keegan kid is supposed to be, you know, really good.
I
too.
like him.
So you know, they'll figure it out. But I hope they keep Becton. But I think, I mean, if you let Baum walk, then essentially you're starting half the season with 2 new linebackers. You're completely, and I like Trotter Jr., and he maybe is the answer. I think he can play, but I don't see, I mean, how do you let a guy like Baum go? It's Howie Roseman's one of his best finds ever. You don't let that go. You've got to sign him.
2 last ones for you. Okay. They've now moved on to the divisional round. Sirianni's contract is up at the end of 25. Are you giving him this offseason, and how much of a priority is it for you to give him a contract extension moving forward, where here's a guy who now has gone to the divisional round, he has gone to and won an NFC championship, and my God, if they end up winning a Super Bowl, wouldn't you say this? If they win a Super Bowl, he's been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. He's won one of them as a coach. He's got one of the highest win percentages in NFL history. How don't you make him a gigantic offer and put him in the upper realm? Or do you think the Eagles look at it more as this is an organizational win? And it's that he's an interchangeable piece in this, because they have fired Super Bowl and Hall of Fame coaches in the past. I mean, how do you think they look at him, and what kind of respect do they have for him? Because again, that's not Kellen. That's Kellen's offense. Okay. I mean, that's how do you think they look at him?
I think they look at him like, we got a coach that wins a lot of games and is a really good coach. I really do. I don't think there's any way that they're going to not give him a contract extension. Like how quickly, I don't know. But especially if they lose this week, in my opinion, that's bad. You know, because you got to win this game. But they get to the NFC Championship game, I think he gets a contract extension quickly.
Wow. I mean, you got to really look at that and go like this. Okay, a contract extension for Nick Sirianni, and you got people, I mean, looking at him and saying this. Is it okay? Now let me go to Kellen Moore. Here's the last one for you. So I look at Kellen Moore and say this. This is what people say, and I hear you say it too. Well, Jalen wins. Well, Kellen Moore is part of that 15-3 too. He's part of that. The passing game was not a factor this year. I'm not saying Jalen wasn't a factor in the run game. He was. But what they did was they went and did this. And let's be candid here. Howie got lucky, man. And I'll tell you why he got lucky. You really think he built that football team with the money he spent, with the least amount of money, with Barkley? Barkley's the cheapest guy in the huddle, and he's the most essential part of the huddle, that he is the most and biggest part of why they're 15 wins is because of that run game. We know this. It ain't the passing game. You're spending $51 million on the wideouts. You're spending $15 million on the tight end. You're spending $50 on the quarterback. You didn't build this team to look like this. You built this team to be a passing offense. Look at how you spent your money. Over half of the money of the salary cap is tied up in 5 players. So you didn't build this thing to look like this. Barkley was the guy that changed the narrative. So my question would be, how do you look at Kellen Moore? I mean, Kellen Moore won 15 ball. His job's to win games, Philly, not to make Jalen Hurts look good. How do you look at him? Do you retain him?
Yeah. I'll be honest. Like, if you look at like last week's game and you look at the first half of that game and how inept that offense was, I thought that was a lot because of him and because of the play calls that they had. So there are times I kind of look at Kellen Moore like, I don't know that I'm like overly like impressed with his play designs and things like that, but I all I can say is the Eagles do not need another offensive coordinator change. I need stability there. So I retain him. Yeah. If somebody doesn't offer him a head coaching job, I hope that he comes back. I need stability there. And
but
I
if
think
he were to get a job, you'd be okay. You'd be like this. Good.
Yeah, I mean, I would be like, okay, well, good luck, but I think we'll be all right. I mean, we got Saquon Barkley, we got those receivers, we got the offensive line, we got Hurts. I think we'll be fine. But let's find a coach that can use and maximize Hurts and that offense, because I think a lot of the issues are the play calling and the play design.
We've been saying this for 4 years with that pass, or actually we've been saying it for 2 years now with the passing game, that it's the coordinator's fault.
Yeah, but I mean, there are things. No, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I mean, we said it with Nick when he was 2-5. We said it with Brian. Now we're saying it with but Kellen.
See, and that's where I don't know. Sometimes I wonder: is this Kellen Moore completely, or is Nick involved in it to a certain level?
Why can't you say it's Jalen too?
Well, I can. I mean, I don't think Jalen played good in the first half. I don't. I didn't think he played great. But, I don't think they helped him either. What I like about Jalen, and I say this all the time, when you needed a drive, when you needed him to go out and do something, he goes down the field and scores. Green Bay scores, puts points on the board, right? The Eagles hadn't done anything offensively. They couldn't even get a first down. Green Bay's closing in, all the momentum. All of a sudden, Jalen Hurts, being the winner that he is, goes out there and finds a way to get down the field and score. That, to me, is very important. As the game gets harder and harder and the pressure grows, it seems like he always seems to have his best moments then. That's what I like about Jalen Hurts. But there are things in that passing game that I didn't like in the first half, and some of it was Jalen Hurts' fault. I don't think he was perfect, but they don't do anything to help him. Why do you take Barkley out on third downs? Like, it's 3rd and 4, and you're taking the best offensive weapon off the field for Gainwell. Do you think that helps the defense or hurts the defense? Doesn't make any sense. Why not run a screen pass? Why are we like the last team in screen passes? Like, I don't think some of the play calls and the play designs, sometimes I don't think they help Hurts, and it hurts them. It's not the only reason why, but it's one of the factors, in my opinion.
Finally, Barkley is approaching 400 plus touches.
Right.
I mean, dude, this guy's never had more than 293. He's now approaching 400 touches. I mean, do you think they're doing a little bit of managing this thing here a little too? Because, I mean, this is a lot of carries and a lot of touches and a lot of responsibility. And he still looks fresh out there, but the last couple of weeks, he's been banged up. I mean, wouldn't you agree that, I mean, they're kind of managing him on the fly a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. I got to say this real quick. Somebody in the chat just said Gainwell's a better pass blocker. That is the most ridiculous thing ever. He stinks at pass blocking. He's not even close to Barkley at pass blocking.
He does.
But in terms of carries, I think that's why they pretty much rest Barkley all week at practice. Yeah. I think they give him the carries and then they light his load during practice, and that's how they're trying to play it and manage it. I think that it affects you more so next year. I think you're going to have to get yourself I think maybe another running back. I think you need to get a 3-headed monster. I think that's where it's going to affect you more than anytime is next year.
It's a great take, and I want to sink this in on you. Do you think that this style of play is attainable and sustainable, that you can keep playing like this and give him another 400 carries next year?
Maybe not 400 carries, but I think you can give him 300 carries. And maybe you get an extra, another back who's better than Gainwell, then, can take, maybe 100 carries. I do think this is sustainable. I think this is playoff football.
Well, then why do I need AJ? Then why do I need AJ and Devontae if I'm going to go with this style of play?
Well, because if you one, they're very, very good. If you sit there and personally, I don't care about the money. I don't pay these guys. I don't care about the money. But if you take these guys off the field, then then it's going to be what, the New York Giants football. He didn't have 1,000-yard. He didn't have a receiver after Beckham's first year. He left. He didn't have a receiver on that team have over 700 yards
they were
the rest
terrible
of his time there. So why do I want to go with that? I still want the threat of those guys, and I still think Hurts. I still think Hurts can throw. I know you don't think so, but I think when he needs to throw, he can throw. I go to that Pittsburgh game. We're going to find out, right? I guess next year. But to me, the style the Eagles play is built for the playoffs. Look at all the passing numbers in the playoffs round one. Did anybody throw for 300 yards? I don't think so.
No.
So like the passing always comes down in the playoffs. The running game always kicks up. This team is built for that. That's why the cold weather and stuff. We're not talking. It doesn't hurt the Eagles. That hurts the Rams.
So you don't want to see any Golden Tates on the Eagles. I got it. I'm with you here. Hey, finally, score. Give me a score.
34-13.
Oh, man. 20 plus. You're like Xander. You got a 20-plus win here. You don't see it, right?
Well, no, I see a destruction of Matthew Stafford. I think the passing is going to be hard for him. I think it's going to be hard to come by, especially with that weather. And I think the Eagles will do what they do. They're going to wear you out. And I think they'll have a lead. Maybe it's 24-13 or it's 20-13 going into fourth. And then they're just going to tire that team out. And that's it. That's all she wrote.
Are you excited about Deion Sanders being the next head football coach?
Oh, I'm praying. I'm praying. Please let that happen. The amount of egos there. If Jerry Jones had problems with Jimmy Johnson, what do you think he's going to do with Deion? Oh, it's great. I would love it.
Oh, my God.
And here's the other thing, though. I don't, he goes, his kids play high school football. He follows them college football.
With Arkansas.
Now he wants to coach. If I'm his kids, the last guy I want coaching me is my dad. You got to go stand on your 2 feet. Otherwise, you're always going to be looked at as my dad had to carry me over. So to me, if I'm one of his kids, I hope he goes to Dallas. That's what I think.
Hey, if I'm his kids, you're damn right. I hope he goes to Dallas, because the rest of those other kids outside of Shador, they are not pro players. And the only way they're going to get a job is if my daddy get me another scholarship with the Dallas Cowboys.
Do you think that if he went to Dallas, he would force the Cowboys to get rid of Dak and get his son?
Oh, yeah, I do. I think so.
I would love that.
Well, here, I said this about the Cowboys.
Hilarious.
This is what I said about the Cowboys. I don't really think it matters who the coach is, because you have Dak. Dak Prescott has proven to you right now that he is probably between 10 to 15 in quarterbacks, and that's on a good year that he's 10. Most of the time he's between 12, 15, 16, somewhere in the league like that. And he's not showing you in any time where he can get you even to a divisional round. He can't even get you out of the wild card round. Shit, I see bums getting people out of the wild card rounds. I mean, Baker Mayfield can get you out of the wild card round. I mean, I just don't. I mean, and Baker Mayfield's got a lesser talented roster than what the Cowboys do. So I don't really think it matters who the coach is, because as long as Dak's in the building, you're not going to win. I mean, Dak is Kirk Cousins 2.0.
I know. I know. It's crazy. That would be so interesting. From an Eagles fan perspective, I would.
By the way, I think Shador Sanders is overrated.
Yeah, he might be, he might be. But I think the whole thing where, he wants to go follow son and coach his son. I think for a man that you don't want that. You don't
No.
want that.
I don't want my first head coaching job to be relied on my kid having to carry the team. I want to be able to go into a place and hire my own guy, and I don't want to be obligated to coach my kid. That's not what I would want to do to coach my kid, and that determines my success because that kid, in my opinion, is not good enough to play in the NFL. I think that kid's got Jamarcus Russell all over him.
Oh boy. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I do.
I think the kid from Miami is a little overrated. So, I mean, the Cam Ward, yeah, I do. I think the kid's a little overrated. I think he holds the ball too much.
I kind of like him. I kind of like him. Yeah,
probably a little more. I like him more than Sanders, I'll tell you that, because he's calm in the pocket. But to me, I mean, I see Jamarcus Russell. You know, the problem that I had with Sanders is that watch his games. You know what he did so that he could have a higher completion percentage? Instead of throwing it away, he would rather take the sacks. And you know why that is? His dad's telling him you're paid on stats. You're not paid on wins. So he had a higher completion percentage. Instead of just throwing it away, he would rather take the minus yardage. And you want to hear something even more so to Sanders? Not one time did the Colorado Buffaloes beat a top 20 team that finished the season ranked in the top 25. They never beat anybody. Somebody said TCU. Well, TCU didn't finish in the top 25 that year. They were like 6th or 7th, and then they fell out of the top 25. They never beat a legitimate team in any way in the 2 years that they were up there. So, fuck, if you can't beat anybody, dude, why in the world would I sign you?
Right. Man, doesn't it sound like they totally fit the Cowboys though?
Oh yeah, no, it's
perfect organization.
It's perfect drama.
It is. I need it. I want to. I'll net Mark. I'll have so much material on Mark for the next 4 years. It'll be great.
Absolutely, Philly. I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, my man.
Can't wait for
Appreciate
this weekend. Thank you so much, man. Thanks for always
having
me
on.
You bet, man.
Thank
That
you.
is the great Philly 500. Make sure you check his great show out and his channel out. Guy does a great job. We so appreciate him doing that each and every single time. We are going to catch up with our friend Mark Trestman. Hopefully the Chargers didn't get in the way of this because we had to go through the Chargers at the very end here. So hopefully we end up doing it. Yeah. Hey, by the way, real quick, I don't see Shedeur Sanders as a high-profile quarterback. Like when I watch him play in college, I'm not impressed. I mean, I'm not impressed. What game impressed you about what he did? He holds on to the ball too long. He's concerned with stats. He finger points all the time that his teammates weren't good enough around him. Well, welcome to the NFL. They're not going to be better when you get to the NFL because when you're a high draft choice and you're a quarterback, you go to shitty teams. He's going to have lesser talent around him if he's drafted in the top 10 than he did at Colorado. I mean, you don't get the ability to go here. Yale, you know this too. The reason that Ben Roethlisberger had an early part of his career that was better than what Eli did, and probably of all the quarterbacks between Eli, Ben, and Phillip Rivers, was what was the reasoning? Well, he went later in the draft, and the Steelers had a ready-made team for him. He didn't have to do anything. They had a ball-controlled football team when they had Jerome Bettis. They had a good defense. They had a Hall of Fame coach. They didn't need anything out of him, so he could develop. Okay? Rivers had a good team. Eli had a decent team. But when you're one of those quarterbacks, you go to shitty teams. He'll have lesser talent and more than likely lesser coaching around him when he gets to the NFL. Where in the world are you going to think that guy's going to have better skill set people around him? I have more talent on my pinky than Sanders has, says Eric. Yeah, I don't see it. Like I said with Cam, I think the only thing Cam does better is he's calmer in the pocket, the kid from Miami. Okay, I mean, I think that whole Colorado thing is a hype machine. Dude, give me Marcus Freeman and what Marcus Freeman brings to the table, on how he has done at Notre Dame. That guy was looked on as a stopgap coach after Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. And now he's propelled himself into a contract extension. If I were him, I would never leave Notre Dame. Why in the world would I leave Notre Dame? Notre Dame believes in him. Notre Dame likes him. They're an independent. They're not in a conference. Until somebody forces them in, they're going to be in the playoffs every year because they're going to be able to set their own schedule. I don't have to listen to guys like Jerry Jones. Why in the world would I want to be in the NFL making $10 million a year, $10, $11, $12 million a year? Why? Do you understand that Marcus Freeman, with his incentives, he's going to make additional $3 million this year on top of the 10 he's going to make? He makes double what Nick Sirianni makes. He makes more money than Nick Sirianni. Why wouldn't the world would I want to coach in the National Football League? Notre Dame is the most and highest exposure job in all of football for a coach. It's not the NFL jobs. You're coaching Notre Dame. And now you're in a chance to win the national title. It's the most and biggest profiled head coaching job in football is Notre Dame. It's not the Cowboy job. I saw Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin having a conversation about the job being the head coach of the Cowboys. I've been saying it to you guys forever. At the end of the day, they've never been able to replace Jimmy. They've just never been able to replace him. They've replaced quarterbacks, talent, rosters. Jerry Jones lives in the shadow of Jimmy Johnson. It's not a good job. Cal McCord will be a great value pick at quarterback. He will. He would. He's a good player. Hey, Xander, did I miss any supers during Philly 500's appearance? Because if I did, I'd like to hit on those. JAKIB is elite. How you doing? Way to go, Jace. I appreciate that, brother. Absolutely. Our Eagles are told to hit the opposing team by smashing their helmet between the armpit and chest. Two guys were injured, same hip. Hey, I'm telling you, Mikey, they just are out physicaling teams right now. They're beating teams up, okay? They are. They're beating teams up right now. I mean, until somebody stops that formula, I will continue. If they throw the ball 28 to 30 times, like I said, that means the Rams are still in the ball game. All right. We're hoping to catch up in effort our friend Mark Trestman, former head coach of the Chicago Bears. We'll get his thoughts on some of the quarterbacks that are in the game. He's also an assistant coach right now with the Los Angeles Chargers and Jim Harbaugh. We'll get his take on that. I'm going to try to get as many coaches as I possibly can on this week and showing you how to prepare for a wild card game and how to prepare in the playoffs. So we will talk to Mark. Mark's been all over the league. I'm trying to look at his resume. Let me show you something here. By the way, he was an assistant coach with me when we were with the Buccaneers and also when he was at the University of Miami. So here's his resume in case you guys don't know who Mark Trestman is. I think Mark's been on the program. I think he was on Birds 365 back in the day when Jody was there. Here's his resume here and what he's done. He's got a resume, quite frankly, that looks exact. By the way, he went to school with Tony Dungy. He's a senior offensive assistant to Jim Harbaugh right now. He was a player with the Vikings. He won a national championship with us at the University of Miami. He worked with the Vikings, the Bucks. There I am with him in '87. The Browns, offensive coordinator. He was the offensive coordinator of the 49ers back in the day. He was the offensive coordinator of the Cardinals. He was the offensive coordinator of the Raiders. He was the assistant head football coach in Miami. He was the offensive coordinator at NC State. He was the head coach of the Montreal Alouettes, head coach of the Chicago Bears. He was the offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens in 2015 with, I believe that was Joe Flacco, if I'm not mistaken. And currently right now is the senior offensive assistant, 3 Grey Cup championships, 2-time CFL Coach of the Year, national champion, and former head coach of the Chicago Bears. So he'll join us, and we'll get his thoughts on the upcoming game and the upcoming games this weekend. They should be pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to hearing him. and what it was like also working with Harbaugh this year too. So, hey, don't forget our good friends at BetUS. Great chance for you guys to team up with our friends at BetUS, the YouTube 150. You get an opportunity, folks, to sign up with the sign-up bonuses up to $2K. That's right, 150%, second and third, or 125, 200% in crypto. BetUS.com.pa. That's BetUS.com.pa. Fastest payouts in the business, 24/7 personalized service, 365 days of the year. Live wagering on all major games. That's BetUS.com.pa. That's BetUS.com.pa. And do me a favor, tell them Big Sil sent you.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
We noticed that there was mold creeping into our basement about a year and a half ago, and wanted to make sure that we were getting rid of the problem permanently. We actually reached out to several different contractors to get it resolved, and actually 2 of them recommended DryTech to us as a long-term solution. Other than the noise factor, we wouldn't even know that there was work being done on the basement level. It's really been a clean process for us.
Score and save this football season on your car insurance. Before the next game, save up to 40% on your auto insurance policy. That's right, 40% savings. Call an audible this season and contact the Del Val Insurance Group. They're an advocate for you, not an insurance company. That means they'll get you the right coverage and save you up to 40%. Call managing partners Fran or Jim of Del Val Insurance, 215-354-0122, or score and save at dvigi.com. dvigi.com.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sil's National Football Show. Please hit the like button. We appreciate you guys coming aboard. Give me a total on our likes right now. You guys have been great. All super chats go to the top. We always read our supers. And guys, thank you guys so much. We're efforting our friend Mark Trestman, hopefully at the bottom of the hour again. At the very last minute, the Chargers reached out to me because he's an assistant coach now with the Chargers. And Mark wanted to make sure that it was clear through the PR department. Now, the Chargers follow me on Twitter. I've got a great relationship, believe it or not, with the Los Angeles Chargers. And Mark is an executive. By the way, what's really becoming cool is that now I have a major player and a friend and a former teammate of mine. You know, people ask me all the time, how do you know all these people? I think it's because I played at UM, and a lot of the people now have gone on and stayed in football. Alonzo Highsmith is the vice president of player personnel now in New England with Elliott Wolf. And he made all decisions, and he's working with Mike Vrabel now. And he's working with Elliott Wolf in New England. So I have he's one of my best friends is Alonzo Highsmith, and he works in the Patriots organization. So I asked him about certain players that become free agents, guys in the draft. Alonzo has a lot to do with college personnel. And so he's dealing with that, and he's going to be handling a lot to do with Elliott Wolf, who's up in New England when it comes to the draft. Dan Morgan is a friend of mine. He's a general manager of the Carolina Panthers. He's in that organization. Mark Trestman is the senior assistant to Jim Harbaugh. Jim hired him, brought him in, and he's on that coaching staff now with the Chargers, and he's in a senior advisory role. He's an assistant coach with the Chargers. They ended up firing Tom Telesco there so that you can have Mark in there. Mark has a lot to do with the game plan when it comes to the development of Justin Herbert. And so, again, they've got to get more talent around Justin Herbert in Los Angeles. But, again, like I said, I'm very fortunate that we have a lot of people that are still in the National Football League. You know, we got, like I said, Clint Hurt is a friend of mine. He's a University of Miami former defensive tackle. I've known him since his college days. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think he played for Butch. And I think he played for Ed Ogeron. I think Coach Ogeron was the D-line coach there at the time when Clint Hurt was at the University of Miami, the current D-line coach. Tracy Rocker is a friend of mine who was the former Eagle guy. He's still in the NFL. I think he's in Houston right now. By the way, Tracy's done a great job with that Houston Texans D-line. Tracy Rocker is the D-line coach for the guy you guys said sucked. Well, Tracy Rocker's the D-line coach for the Texans, and they've done a great job. And by the way, you see Ryan saying that Butch Davis sucks. Butch recruited Ray Lewis, Sean Taylor, Ed Reed, Reggie Wayne, Vince Wilfork, Andre Johnson, McGahee, Clinton Portis, Bryant McKinney. Those guys are Hall of Famers. Hall of Famers in the NFL. Hall of Famers. Okay, so one thing about Butch got 3 Super Bowl rings too. Hey, by the way, how many Super Bowl rings your coordinator have? Curious. Butch Davis, as the D coordinator for the Cowboys, has 2 Super Bowl rings. And he was the coordinator of those Cowboy teams. How you doing? How you doing, Sue Redbottom? 2 Super Bowl rings. Yeah, he stinks. Man, I love it, man. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Keep it up there. Keep it up there. What do you mean? Hey, look at Sue go like this. She goes like this. Here we go. What? Super Bowl rings don't matter? Oh, that's right. I forgot, Sue. The only place Super Bowls don't matter is Philly. Tell them, M. Reyes, 15-3. Yeah. Tell them, M. Reyes, 15-3. The only place it doesn't matter is in Philly. I got you. Yeah. That's right. 15-3, baby. Who cares about Super Bowl rings? 15-3, right? Nobody cares. All right, Nick spoke to the media today. Oh, my God. Too easy. Hey, Don, how you doing? Yeah. There you go, M. Reyes. 15-3. I know Super Bowls don't matter. Only in Philly. Yeah, I heard Nick speaking to the media today. I kind of liked what he said here. He made sure that he went out of his way, that Hurts was working with explosion plays. What explosion play did Jalen Hurts have on Sunday? The pass to Jahan Dotson? Maybe. Okay? No. Jahan? Maybe. Where's your Super Bowl? What do I have to do with it? What does that have to do with me? I'm not the one you're calling sucks. If you're saying I suck because I don't have a Super Bowl ring, that's okay. Neither does Nick. Neither does Jalen. What you doing? Where's Jalen's? Where's Jalen's Super Bowl ring? Where's his ring? Where's Nick's? Hey, that's what we all have in common. Nick and I don't have a Super Bowl rings. Okay. Sure. It's coming. Oh, it's coming. Oh, okay. Stills, it's coming. We're going to get it. I got Sills in his heels. It hurts my back. I don't wear heels. I'm like Sue. I'm more of a flats person. More of a sandals guy, you know? Okay? It's coming this year, says Charlie. Incoming. Your career is over. Hey, Twiz, he don't win that Super Bowl, so's Nick's. How you doing? All right, enough of this. Too much fun here. Hang on. Hey, Twiz, you don't win that Super Bowl. Hey, Nick, bring your playbook. Hey, Nick, bring your playbook. You don't win that Super Bowl. Hey, Nicky, bring that playbook of yours. Howie and Jeffrey want to talk to you. Come on in here. Maybe we sit down and have a conversation. How would you like to be a senior assistant to the next head football coach that comes in here? What do you think? Okay? Hey, get this. I disagree 1,000%. You guys are so pathetic, and I disagree with Philly 500 100% about Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore did everything in his power to win. He knows the quarterback is not a passing guy. So what did he do? He made an offense that fits Jalen's skills. You guys don't like that. And it's resulted in 15 wins. I don't know what you wanted from these coordinators. He's had 4 in 5 years. When are you going to find the right guy? And by the way, is Shane really the right guy? Every single quarterback that he has ever had, that he's tutored, has been injured. Hurts got injured with him. Anthony Richardson got hurt with him. Any one of the quarterbacks that Shane Steichen has coached has ended up with injuries. So I ask you, is Shane really the right guy? Everyone keeps going. Shane Steichen, he might get Jalen Hurts killed. He just might. By the way, it was really cool, Jay Gruden yesterday, breaking down the NFL, and it was really cool listening to Jay yesterday talk about, the evolution of the quarterback. The next guy that we're getting on here, I got to tell you something, the quarterbacks that he has worked with, and I brought this up to you before. Look at his resume. And you know what it reminds me of? This resume reminds me a lot of my friend Frank Reich. Frank was my roommate, was my teammate when I was at Maryland my freshman year. And he was there with Boomer Esiason, and then I transferred, obviously, to the University of Miami. Listen to Mark Trestman here. Of course, he won a national championship coaching Bernie Kosar. And Bernie would go on to the Cleveland Browns, and he would also be the offensive coordinator there in Cleveland with Bernie. So you had a Miami guy and a Miami guy working there in Cleveland. He was the offensive coordinator there. He worked in Minnesota. He played, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he was there with the Vikings as a player himself, was quarterback when he was in college, went to school with Tony Dungy. By the way, I can't wait to tell him. Tony Dungy's going to tell me to tell him to say hi because he was a year behind him, I think. He was the OC in San Francisco. I believe that 95 year, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's Steve Young when he was the OC there in San Francisco. Quarterback coach in Detroit, Arizona, he was the OC. Raiders, he was the OC. He was an assistant, I believe, in 04. That, I think, is Dave Wannstedt, the former Miami Hurricane head defensive coordinator in D.C. and Dallas. What did Mark Trestman say? Or, excuse me, what did Frank Reich say when he was on the program a couple years ago? It's the life of a gypsy when you're assistant. And now he's an assistant coach with the Chargers. He is my friend over 40 years now. He was with me in Tampa, believe it or not, is Mark Trestman, the former head coach of the Chicago Bears. Joins us now here on the program. How you doing, Coach?
I'm not worthy. You've got all these decorated guests, and then you've got me. I just, it's a good filler, but, you've had some great guests, and it's a privilege and an honor. So happy for you, Dan, and the world you live on and the things you've accomplished. Just proud to be here with you today.
Proud to be your friend too, Mark. I think, we talked before with Frank Reich. He goes, when you get a head coaching job, man, it's the life of a gypsy. When you go from building to building to building to building, I mean, your resume is littered with really great stops. I mean, have you enjoyed the journey that you went on from all the way back with Howard Schnellenberger to all the way where you are now? You're an assistant there with Jim Harbaugh there in Los Angeles with the Chargers. Have you enjoyed the journey?
Let me digress on Frank Reich for 1 second. I had the privilege of coaching Frank as well in Detroit, and that's how we got to be friends. And the thing, one of my greatest memories as an assistant coach when I was working for Bobby Ross, we went to the playoffs that year with Scott Mitchell and Frank as our backup, is on Christmas morning that Scott and Frank showed up at my front door to give me a gift, a Christmas gift. And it's one of my great memories as a coach. And that's what life is. That's what the journey is. It's a bunch of memories. They weren't always good. You got to have resilience to do the job. Frank will tell you that over the last 5 years, what he's been through. But it's you got to go back to your why. Why do I do it? Because I love to touch the lives of the men and women that I've worked with. I'm proud of that. I've used the science of football, which helps them master their craft. But the true reason I've done it is because I like to grow the people that are around me and be a servant leader for them. So no regrets. Would I've done it differently? That's a regret. So I can't say that. I've made the most every place I've been. I've enjoyed my time in Canada probably as much as I enjoyed any time, because it's all the same. You got players that love ball, are credit card thin, different as athletes than the players in the NFL. But, changing and touching the lives of people on the field, off the people, support staff. It's been a life well lived, and I'm grateful to have landed in LA with Jim Harbaugh, who was my quarterback coach in Oakland, and with two coaches on the staff that are coordinators that I gave their first job to, and Mike Devlin, our line coach, who I coach in Arizona. So it's come full circle, and it's been a privilege to work for Jim and be in the quarterback room every day with Justin.
Coach, tell me how the game has evolved, because the Eagles and other places have analytics that are so much more part of the game than when you first came into the game. And I mean, the game has changed so much on how important that is. And just to reference Frank again, I mean, a lot of the game plans today are built off those analytics that the coaches take, because back in the day, you would have to break film down, or you'd have a quality control guy. He would break down 3rd and 10. You'd break down 3rd and 10 minus 20. And all of a sudden you would have all this tape on the guys. And now you have an analytics department that kind of does that for you. How much is that part of the game today, not just in Philly, but across the board now, that is a major part of the game?
Well, I can't speak for anywhere else, but I mean, there's two sides to this. There's still coaches who break the games down, because the analytics people don't understand football. They can read the data, but they don't understand football. They wouldn't know cover 3 from cover 9 mostly. So, because they're in a separate room, doing things that giving us data, but it's not the data that we use to break a team down. There can be so much data today that it's hard to do a game plan because you get caught up in the minutia. I've always simplified it. These are the game wreckers. We got to neutralize them. These are the protection issues. We got to take care of that first, because if the quarterback can't complete a throwing motion, we don't complete a pass. Who are their best run defenders? It's really analyzing who the players are, and we can use the productivity from PFF and others sources to get that. But the bottom line is, you watch the tape and you know where the problems are, and then you know what the coverages are, and then you know the concepts you have that fit the coverages and have answers for the other coverages that they play beside. And the bottom line is, in the National Football League, there's no tendencies anymore. I mean, we call it, back in the day, we'd call it a Rolodex. So I put on a PowerPoint now because no player knows what a Rolodex is, but they get the point of, they just throw a dart at a board and that's the coverage, or that's the blitz. So I've tried to, in my mind, simplify the game. And so the analytics comes in, so we're going for it on 4th down. If it's 4th and 4, if it's 4th and 3, we hear that in our headsets with our game management analytics people, but it's still up to the head coach to decide, what, they might say go for it, but you know what, the wind, how our defense is playing, who the quarterback is, that's all got it. And I've been up front as a head coach in those meetings, and I've sat as a coordinator in those meetings, and they're very difficult because really nobody knows what it's like until they stepped in the shoes of the head coach that's got to decipher all that information. And that's where analytics is used more than anything. Do we defer? Do we take the ball? All those other things, that's part of the analytical process.
Coach, when I see a good coordinator, to me, tell me if this is still part of it. I mean, obviously we're based in Philly, but I watch a lot of ball all around, and as you know, as you do as well, and you're in it still. How much of it is a feel of the game? Boy, I'm watching Vic Fangio right now with the Eagles, and the way that he has just a feel on bringing pressure, not bringing pressure, post-snap coverages and sliding to the coverage that you're looking for, putting 2 high safeties in the game now. I mean, the way that these guys call games today, is it still the feel of the game, Coach, that you have?
I believe it is. I believe it is to a great extent. I mean, you look at Spags and KC, you look what's going on in Detroit with Aaron Glenn, you look at Washington with Dan Quinn and his staff, so to speak. So that's 3 of the 6, but that goes both ways. I think there's a real feel, it really, the play doesn't matter. It's the execution of the play. So offensively, it's always going to be who the quarterback is. And we can just see by the list of names that are playing quarterback, they're all difference makers, both with their arms and the ability to extend plays with their legs. But it is a feel thing. But you do prepare with a list of plays in every section. And I'm sure conversely, I've never been in a defensive room on a day-to-day basis, but I'm sure it's the same thing. But it's giving them things they don't expect. It's giving them things they haven't seen. And, Vic Fangio, for gosh sakes, I mean, he's been doing it for a lifetime. And if anybody has a great feel, he does. We didn't face them, but you face a guy like Spagnuolo in Kansas City, forget about it. I mean, he'll all out blitz you, and the next thing you know, he'll rush 3, and the next thing you know, he'll bring corner blitz. So you just have to be prepared for it all and have answers on your plays, because if you try to figure it out, you're gonna stress yourself out, and you're gonna stress your team out.
Coach, help me out on this one, because I'm still stuck in the past here. I'm, oh man, get off your lawn kind of guy, because I think you have to win a Super Bowl from the pocket. I don't think you can not win from the pocket. You have to have the ability to read defenses, especially with the complex defenses that you're talking about. But you're seeing more of these guys, and I'm not asking you, obviously, because you're associated with the Chargers, to comment on any other quarterback in there. But I would say this, you see the quarterbacks like Lamar and Jalen Hurts and Philly, and you see these guys, Josh Allen too. Coach, I mean, to me, you have to be efficient in the passing game. You just can't be a guy who is efficient in the run game, or can you? Tell me about the dual threat guy versus the drop back guy, because you have a drop back guy with Justin Herbert. I know Justin well through Mario Cristobal, and I love the kid. I mean, I think he's got a big arm. But do you think, again, we're now seeing the evolution of the dual threat guy in this sport because of what they're doing in college?
Well, I think Justin is a dual threat. I mean, he has the ability to extend plays, and he did throughout our season. He was dealing with an ankle situation for the first 12 weeks, but we started getting going as an offense when he was able to extend plays. And he's got the speed and the athleticism to do that. That kind of goes unrealized. But here's the deal. I think you're right, Dan. I think that it starts in the pocket. You have to be able to win the game in the last 2 minutes. And the first way you have to do it is by throwing the football. That's where games are won. They're all, I mean, these divisional games, 80% of them, I would say that, what are there, 6 games this week?
Yep.
There's 6 games. I will say 4 to 5 games will be one-score games, and they'll be decided in the last 2 to 4 minutes of the game, whether teams are trying to score or teams are trying to hold the lead. That's the way this weekend will go. It'll be one score. But all these quarterbacks can throw from the pocket, whether it's Mahomes, Hurts, Stafford, Goff. Lamar has had a fantastic season. Jalen Daniels is a future. I mean, he is impeccable for as young as he is to play the way he's played. All these teams have great quarterback play, but they also, and as a coordinator, as a play caller, you got to have a quarterback who can extend 2 or 3 plays a game, particularly on third down. You just cannot make the right calls on third down with the volume of different types of defenses. So again, something to look for is not only throwing from the pocket. It's not that they're running quarterbacks. They're not wildcat. All these guys can throw from the pocket, but which quarterback can extend and find a first down, whether it's Stafford, whether it's Lamar or Goff. I mean, when you think, can Stafford do it? Can Goff do it? But I will go on record that probably 1 or 2 times during the game, Goff will find a way to make 1 first down, and that's huge. That turns 35% on third down conversions to 42. And if you take care of the ball, which all these guys are 90 ratings and above, you're going to be in a one-score game in the fourth quarter and have a chance to win.
How about this, Coach? Do you agree today that the game is played more in space than it was, say, 10 years ago now? That you see the game today that the linebackers 10, 15 years ago were the Levon Kirklands of the day. Now you're looking for more of those cover 2, Tampa 2 type guys like a Derek Brooks that could drop back in coverage and get these backs out of the backfield. Because you take a look at a tight end position today versus the Mark Bavaro days, that position has evolved into being an integral part on being able to move the football down the field. I mean, is the game played more in space today than it's ever?
I think you can argue that. I mean, it's the rules are set up to play the game in space, to give an advantage to the offensive players and the tight end position. And if you have 2 tight ends, one of which can both block and catch, that's the greatest advantage, because you can keep teams in base defenses and have three guys to throw the ball to, and 4 and 5 if you include the tight end in the back. So I would agree with that. I think the rule changes, and that's where the advantage goes to teams like Philly, that they can like the Ravens, who can line up and run the ball because of the rules. And this is another point of it is, how many times does a linebacker take on a lead blocker in the NFL, in OTAs and training camp? It just doesn't happen. So they got to practice it. Taking on Picard is not an easy thing to do. For example, taking on some of our fullbacks is not now all of a sudden you've got linebackers who don't get a chance to practice taking on the run, and now they see it on Sunday. That's hard. And that's an advantage, not only running the football, but then the creation of a play action game off of that.
From 30,000 feet, Coach, when you see a guy like Jalen Hurts and you see his abilities, Jimmy Johnson's been on and Tony loves him too. I mean, 29.03 this year in passing. Am I jaded by the numbers because I'm looking for more numbers and only 18 touchdowns? Now, again, they had a 2,000-yard rushing and running back this year, and they were able to dominate. And plus, by the way, maybe I'm bitching more, Coach, at the method and not the result, because they're 15 wins. They're 15-3 right now, heading into a divisional round. I mean, when you see Hurts, what do you see when you see that player?
So let me just say this. We did not see Hurts at all on tape during the whole season.
Okay.
So I've seldom watched a game, but I know who Barkley is, and I know what he did. So when you win 15 games and you can run the ball in January, you got a hell of a football team, and you cannot critique the method. He still had 18 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. I had a chance to watch. I was at a Cleveland practice a couple years ago when Philly practiced against the Browns.
Yep.
And I was overly impressed with Jaylen and his ability. I did not realize how good a passer that he was, number one. And what I'm what really intrigued me is I think he's a great leader. I mean, listening to speak to the press and his post Super Bowl press conference, he won me over. This is a leader of men. This is a guy who can transcend the locker room. You know, credit to Nick Sirianni for the job. People do not realize how hard it is to win one game in the National Football League. It is really hard, and they won 15 games. And nobody can argue that by starting with running the football and with the offensive line that they have and the receivers that they have and the defense that they have, complementary football, man, if you're an outsider and you're not living in Philadelphia, you're going, you know, Howie Roseman, that's a hell of a job. Nick Sirianni, that's a hell of a job. That's winning football and protecting your team by doing the right thing. I don't think there's one thing you can complain about if you're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I'm not there.
I got it.
I'm not in the stadium, and I get a chance to watch the games, and we never had a crossover where I watched the Eagles play offense. All I know is what I've heard and the statistical aspects of it.
When you see Josh Allen, Coach, I mean, boy, I saw him at Wyoming his junior year, and then I saw him his senior year, and I was like this, well, maybe it's the talent that's around him a little bit too, because, you know, it's Wyoming. You're not going to be the University of Miami and have volume of players rolling around here, but God, he just looks so special. I mean, that's him and Lamar, man. You can flip a coin. It's that conversation, is it, Coach? Well, if you want Lamar, I'll take Allen. And if you want Allen, I'll take Lamar. I mean, is it that close?
Oh, I think that, you know, Josh Allen will not argue that Lamar is a better athlete and a more explosive runner. But Lamar will be happy to tell you that Josh Allen can do it all. And I always said this Josh Allen was not a high percentage accurate thrower when he got out of college. He became one with the Bills. And that's, I think, you know, I credited Brian Dable along the way and the staff that they had there at the time that helped elevate his ability systematically and athletically to become a much higher completion player and try to minimize, you know, the negative plays that he's had along the way. I mean, you know, he's like the great baseball player. He's going to strike out, but, you know, every one of these quarterbacks are game wreckers. That's the fun of the playoffs. That usually happens. They're all game wreckers. And every defense starts with, how do we get to this guy? How do we hit him? How do we make him think? How do we get around his legs? How do we knock him down early to get his attention and not allow him to not have to take a shower after the first quarter? That's really the goal of all these defensive coaches.
Coach, a couple last questions here for you. You know, as the head coach, you probably have enormous respect for what Andy Reid is doing. He's going after a three-peat now. I mean, we've never seen it in NFL history, a team win 3 in a row. We've seen some teams have opportunities at it. But, Coach, how much do you think he evolved from all the things that happened in Philly when he got to those 5 NFC championship games? You know, they just came up short in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. Is it just as simple as saying this? Well, Mahomes is the difference in this whole thing here because, again, people always go, well, Belichick, you know, he had Brady. And I'm like, well, name me a coach in NFL history that wasn't tied with a great coach. I mean, what did Don Shula do without Greasy and the way they ran the ball back then? He even had Marino. I mean, what did Noel do without Terry Bradshaw? What did even Walsh do without having Joe Montana? I mean, is it tied together? I guess is what I'm saying. The coach and the player that's going to elevate where you are with your football team? Because he just looks different. Is it Mahomes or is it Reed in Kansas City?
Well, I think you really talked about two things. Number one is every coach is on his own journey, and they're transformed throughout their journey. If they're lucky enough to get on the hip of a great quarterback, there's a pretty good chance that they'll evolve into being a great coach. I mean, when I look at the history of football, we've both been around. I mean, Joe Gibbs did it with 3 different quarterbacks.
Insane.
Bud Grant went to the Super Bowl with 3 different quarterbacks. Yeah, you can look around the game. Don Shula spent most of his career with Dan Marino and Earl Morrall. You know what I'm saying? So you could, if you wanted to really break it down, you could say, man, Joe Gibbs, that's a hell of a job, you know. Bud, Gary Quazzo, Joe Kapp, Fran Tarkington. You know what I'm saying? So if we go back, we'll see it. But, you know, Bill Walsh will tell you Steve Young, Joe Montana, and Landry will tell you, you know, this, and Staubach and Marino, and, you know, and then the guys who did it with, you know, Brad, you know, you got to give Gruden credit, did it with Brad Johnson. He was just good enough. But again, like the Ravens in 2002, like the Bears, such super defense, it just overcame good quarterbacking, right? But most of the time it's the quarterback tied. And, you know, Andy Reid's just, you know, I've watched him since he was a tight end coach in Green Bay, you know, and, you know, he's evolved. And I'm sure that just like Bill Belichick would do, and Landry and Shula would do, if you sat in the bar having a beer, I think they would be really honest. If it wasn't for him, there's no way I would have this. I felt that in Canada with my they're both Hall of Fame quarterbacks. We won a lot of games. We had so much fun. It would not have been the case without the quarterbacks that I had. And then the quarterbacks that I've coached throughout my lifetime and journey in the NFL, when they played well, I was really good. And when they didn't play well, I was not a very good coach. It's hard to overcome inferior quarterback play and be considered a good coach, regardless of the kind of coach you are. That's just the perception of the National Football League and of football in general.
Justin Herbert, what's your take on him and his athletic ability and his ability as an NFL player?
You know, Justin is elite at everything he does. Work ethic, humility, leadership. Nobody since I watched I coached Moore and Moon in the Pro Bowl, Steve Young. I mean, it just goes on and on. Nobody throws the ball any better then or now in the entire league than Justin Herbert, accurate as they come, and athletic enough to make plays with his legs when it's necessary. And you know, he's finally in a system that I think, you know, as we grow, as Joe Ortiz and Jim continue to build our football team, we're just going to get better and better. I mean, we did some great things. Justin was hurt early in the year. It probably cost us some games. And we certainly, as a team, did not play well in all 3 phases. And I give credit to D'Amico and his staff. They were the better team last Saturday. They deserved to win. We were not our best, and you have to be at your best in the playoffs. We were 13-6, 2 minutes left in the third quarter, got away from us. It's a credit to the Texans. They deserve to be in the next round.
Why does Jim Harbaugh win? And you know what? I'll tell you this, Coach. If you want to hire a Harbaugh, you can't go wrong when it comes to coaching. These guys, they know what they're doing here, man. I mean, why has Jim won at every level that he has coached, whether it's University of San Diego, Stanford, Michigan? He was at San Francisco, and now what's the secret sauce with him?
Yeah. Well, let me start this way. When I was the coordinator in Oakland, Jim came in as a quarterback coach. Al Davis hired him, and you could see that he was special. If there's 8 billion people on the planet, there's only one Jim Harbaugh. It's almost difficult to describe. It's a combination of how much he loves football, how much faith he has in God, and the direction. You know, he's Jack and Jackie Harbaugh's son, and he's John Harbaugh's brother. That's a pretty good mixture. and he's played the game, and he played in the National Football League for 15 years. So what comes out when you listen to Jim talk is his love of family, his love of the team. Everything he says is authentic. If he says, I love this team and I want them all back, he means that. He knows it can't happen because we got drafts and free agency, but he does believe that. And he's got a sense of timing that is indescribable. It's simple, it's storytelling, and it's just been an honor to have hung out. And, you know, I'll just leave you with this, Dan, is that I watched the special on him and his brother on ESPN the other day, and his dad said, and his dad was a longtime coach, as we all know. His dad said, I only wish I would have worked for John and Jim in my first year of coaching. And about 4 months ago, I was just chatting with Jim off the field, and I said, you know what? I only wish that you were my first head coach, because that's the impact he's had on my life. And the reassurance, I think that I wasn't that way when I was young, but I've evolved to be that coach now. And that makes a hell of a final stop on this journey.
Absolutely. I think that Jim Harbaugh is a fist with a mouth on it. It's just like that. That's what I see with him and how he reminds me.
Yeah. It's just, you can't describe it. And there's nobody like him. And he's not, I worked for John too, in Baltimore, and they're both phenomenal coaches. But I think what separates Jim is not talent, his talent or John's talent. They were great coaches, but Jim's experience as a player for 15 years in the National Football League kind of gives him a unique perspective coming in, that very few people have.
Coach, thank you so much, man. This has been awesome. I hate you do this every time to me. You go, I'm not going to. You brought it to the table here, man. That was great stuff. And I'm so happy for you, Coach. Dude, you're a football man. I mean, people don't realize this guy should be he should be in a law firm in New York somewhere. He could have been in a law firm in New York, and he goes, I'm going to go into football instead. He's supposed to be a lawyer, but you ended up being a head coach and a great coach as well, and a dear friend of mine for over 40 years. Coach, I love the hell out of you. You know that, and thank you so much for doing this for me. You always find time.
Dan, I'm always here for you.
Thank you, Coach.
You matter, buddy.
Man, you got it right there, brother. Thank you, man. That is my friend, Mark Trestman. God, we've been friends for over 40 years, man. I appreciate him doing that, guys. Great stuff, man. I mean, yeah, hey, listen, Mark has worked with everybody on the planet there too, so really appreciate it. Guys, thank you guys very much. We appreciate it. This Week in Football is coming up with Pat. So he will have, I believe, Sal Palantonio will be with us there, and he will have the show going for you. So don't forget, too, we appreciate Mark Trestman doing that. So we've had two former head football coaches with us. Yesterday was Jay Gruden, and today was Mark Trestman. I believe Tony Dungy is coming on tomorrow, so we're working on that as well. And by the way, I forgot to tell Mark, that's right, Tony Dungy said to say hi to him because he told me, he goes, no. Mark was a year behind me at the University of Minnesota. So, yeah, we appreciate everybody. Stay tuned for This Week in Football with Pat. We thank you guys very much. Have a good one. Big Z, thank you again. Big Joey, thank you. 2 to 6 tomorrow Eastern time, and we'll see you on the flip side.